Welcome back to part 2 of this Truth or Politics special news reports entitled Lake Cumberland, What Really Lies Beneath. In part 2, you will see firsthand evidence of literally dozens of disturbing documents obtained during this investigation. These documents tell a big part of the story, an amazing part of the story. In the first part, you saw the human side of the story. Now, the second part is the documents and the evidence. We hope you find this extremely formative. And as always, we thank you very much for tuning in to all of our Facebook, or to all of our Truth or Politics investigative reports. And again, this will be uploaded on Facebook, this will be uploaded on YouTube, and will air on NBR TV. Thank you so much. To get started, first I want to talk about Lake Cumberland, because our regular viewers, they know all about Lake Cumberland and the surrounding area, but this is going to go out to folks all over the country. And we want to make sure that people understand the significance of this lake and the river it flows into, and who counts on this lake. First off, Lake Cumberland lies in the beautiful Daniel Boone National Forest. And right now what you're looking at is a map of Lake Cumberland, and Lake Cumberland as it flows from Somerset, Kentucky into the Cumberland River, which flows all the way down to Nashville, and then subsequently that water ends up in the Mississippi River, which ends up in the ocean. Lake Cumberland is a beautiful place, and again, it's in the Daniel Boone National Forest, and there is an abundance of wildlife that depends on Lake Cumberland. We have foxes and black bear and mountain lions and beaver and every kind of wildlife that you could imagine, beautiful deer. And Lake Cumberland also, some of the streams and stuff that it flows into, we also have in the South Fork of the Cumberland River, we have elk and just beautiful scenery. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth to come and see. Also, it's a tourism spot, a huge tourism spot. It's one of the best spots for kayaking, boating, water skiing, fishing. It's an amazing place, and this is why I personally, I'm so concerned about what we found out. Truth or Politics is a news organization that has branched out in other counties, and one of them being Pulaski County, Kentucky, where the streams of Lake Cumberland flow into Lake Cumberland and then into the Cumberland River. Truth or Politics is also in Louisville now. When we first started branching out and expanding Truth or Politics, we had a meeting in Pulaski County, Kentucky. And what happened is a private citizen, an insider, approached me and told me what I thought at the time was unbelievable. So, I became very concerned, but I didn't believe it at first because it just sounded too amazing. It sounded like, no, this couldn't happen. What the individual told me is that the city of Somerset has a wastewater treatment plant, and that wastewater treatment plant does not work correctly. It's highly defective, and waste like E. coli and everything else is being dumped into Pittman Creek. Now, if you'll go back to that map, you'll see where Pittman Creek runs into Lake Cumberland. And actually, there's a smaller creek where this waste treatment plant sits, and it's called Sinking Creek. So the waste treatment plant, part of the waste treatment plant sits on Sinking Creek. Then Sinking Creek flows into Pittman Creek, and Pittman Creek then flows into Lake Cumberland, which flows into the Cumberland River, which goes all the way down to Nashville. Anyways, the story was that this guy told is this waste treatment plant was leaking hazardous waste into not only Sinking Creek, but Pittman Creek. And it's been going on for years. And the state of Kentucky's not doing anything about it. The state of Kentucky Water District and the state EPA. And that it's some of this stuff is really, really bad. And so at first it just sounded like, no way, that can't be happening, so they'd be all over them. So we hit the city of Somerset up with what's called an open records request. And we'll go to our exhibits here. And well, before we get into the open records request, it's real important that everyone understand what we're about to talk about. we're going to talk about first, before I get into the open records request and the documents, the numerous documents that we got that actually proved up this gentleman's story. And then we had a second person too, by the way, an insider, an expert, who confirmed this story. And then we got the documents. But before we do that, it's real important for the viewers to understand what we're talking about and why we're so concerned about this. I want to talk about what's called PFAs or PFOAs. These are polyfluoral substances. They are toxic chemicals that don't break down quickly as other compounds. They linger for years in the atmosphere, the environment, and in human blood. All PFAs are synthetic and will never degrade in the environment. And we only have information on the toxic effects of a few substances in this class. PFAs have been used since the 1950s in industrial and commercial facilities to make products like paint and foam. They're listed on Stockholm Convention Treaty to protect humans from environmental pollutants. And there's a study I want you guys to go to. It's called Inverse Com Science Sea Spray is Toxic. And we will post this study. Why is this important? Well, this is from the EPA. Industrial Construction and Demolition CD landfills. What is an industrial waste landfill? An industrial waste landfill is any landfill other than a municipal solid waste landfill and Resource Conservation and Recovery Act substitute C hazardous waste landfill or Toxic Substance Control Act hazardous waste landfill. What is in construction demolition landfill? A CD landfill receives construction and demolition debris, which is typically consists of roadwork material, excavation material, demolition waste, construction, renovation waste, and site clearance. These things also have things like lead, asbestos, metals, concrete, asphalt, plastic, salvage buildings. And these things, these landfills, are notorious for having these fluorocarbons. Okay, let me describe what a fluorocarbon is even more. Okay, about 50 years ago, a company by the name of 3M went into the laboratory and invented this, Frankenstein chemical called a fluorocarbon. They call it C8. Okay. A lot of you have heard of C6, that's hexavalent chromium. That's bad. That's toxic. That wasn't, that we don't want that either, okay? So you got hexavalent chromium is C6, and then C8 is even worse. That's these fluorocarbons, okay? Because what happened was, how you get this is you take a carbon, one carbon, and so many parts per million is safe. It is not going to be harmful to humans or to animals. What they did in a laboratory 50 years ago is they, in a laboratory, stacked carbons. They forced these carbons together, 8 of them. Then they added a fluoride. This became highly, highly toxic to humans, to animals, to anything. And what they did with this, it was for military. 3M then handed this recipe of disaster, I call it, over to DuPont. But it was originally designed for military purposes. They put it on military tanks, on all of their web gear and everything, because it resisted water. A lot of you have used Scotchgard. Okay, if you breathe Scotchgard, you breathe in these fluorocarbons, and they're highly carcinogenic. They're highly dangerous. Okay, that's what is often in these landfills. Why am I talking about landfills? Because part of the story that these two gentlemen came and told me about, and we have since verified it, and we'll get to the documents here and the proof of this. Wastewater Treatment Plant in Somerset, Kentucky, decided, and it is highly defective, okay, and I've got the documents to show this. I went back as far as 2016. They are out of violation and have been getting written up almost on a monthly basis since 2016, right through May of 2021. So their waste treatment plant is defective. That's the best word I can use, because what's happening is it's releasing E. coli, these things called BODs, you name it, into Pittman Creek and Sinking Creek, which then flows into Lake Cumberland. What they decided to do And as much as this is just unbelievable, they decided, well, how can we get the money to fix this? They decided to bring into this defective waste treatment plant what's called leachate from landfills. Okay, 4 different landfills. That's what they decided to do to make money off of this. Leachate from these industrial waste landfills, that has some of the most toxic stuff there is. To handle leachate, for an industrial landfill, first off, to even handle industrial waste, like demolition waste, that type of thing, they have to have an EPA certified industrial permit because this stuff is so toxic. It's toxic waste. Well, guess what? For trucks to haul the leachate, what the leachate is all these landfills will have runoff, like at the bottom. That runoff is extremely controlled by the federal EPA. You cannot have this leachate get into where any of the water tables are, the land tables or the water tables, because the EPA does not want this extremely toxic leachate that could have these fluorocarbons in it and anything else running into lakes, rivers, and streams, or into people's well waters. So it's highly, highly controlled. So even to haul what's called leachate off, you have to have an industrial permit to handle this stuff. However, the city of Somerset, who is now accepting, or has been accepting for at least 2 years, this toxic waste, this leachate from 4 different landfills, 2 of them in Tennessee, they do not possess, believe it or not, they do not possess an industrial waste permit. Now, one would think that they would have to have that, but they don't. And I found that highly shocking that they are not required to have an industrial waste permit, especially a system that is defective and is already leaking in things into Lake Cumberland and Sinking Creek and Pittman Creek. So that's what we found out, and I want to talk some more about these fluorocarbons. Here's kind of a definition of leachate in manufacturing. Leachate collection. A leachate collection monitoring system shall be installed. Now, this is by the EPA. Above the chemical waste line. Leachate collection system shall be monitored by, and this is all, by the way, Exhibit 107, Michael. Shall be monitored monthly and quantitatively and psychochemically characteristics of leachate products. The leachate should be either treated to accept limits for discharge in accordance to the state and federal permit, or disposed by another state or federal approved method. Water analysis shall be, listen closely to this, water analysis shall be conducted as provided in paragraph B6.3 of this section. Acceptable leachate monitoring collection system shall be any of the following designs unless waiver is obtained pursuant to this paragraph. Okay, what that means is, and you're looking at this document, Exhibit 107, is that it's highly controlled. Leachate is highly controlled, and you have to have a lot of testing of anything where this is going to go to show that it's not getting into the water sources. Okay, so, but that's not what's happening here. Okay, so we hit the City of Somerset and the Division of Water, and this is Exhibit number 1. Division of Water, and first off, and I think the first one we did is in June 9th. So all the way back in June 9th, 2021, we hit the Division of Water in the Director Carey of the State Division of Water. And what you're looking at is you're looking at the first open record, one of the first open records requests we sent them. And on page 3 of this, you're going to see a notice of violation. And I refer to this. I'm going to read part of this because it's real important that you see this. Exhibit 1, page 3. And you can look at all of these if you want. They'll be available for anybody to look at. But these are a lot of documents, and as you can see, we have this much more. And I broke it down as much as I can to kind of make this case without spending 10 hours making it. Okay, so in my open records request to the state of Kentucky, I say, regarding the above agreed orders, the because they did an agreed order. We'll get into that. A notice of violation of Somerset Pittman Creek observed 5/10/2021. They are continued non-compliance, failure to comply regarding incidents of E. coli, ammonia, nitrogen, and CBODs. And I say, please provide any and all records that would indicate any action by any agency with the state of Kentucky regarding the continued violations. Okay. Then the next paragraph. In an article by the Commonwealth Journal dated May 6, 2021, see attached, and we're going to show you that article here in a minute. One of the things that was in that article, it states, and I'm going to quote what it states, buried on like the 4th or 5th page of this newspaper. Keck, and this is in quotes, Keck, along with the Water and Wastewater Department head Dana Whitus, told the council about the new project that is new, much needed revenue source for the wastewater department, one that is budgeted to bring in $300,000 next fiscal year. The city is now accepting leachate from the local landfill, dewatering it. Keck said leachate is more or less landfill water or runoff that comes from collecting garbage. Okay. Here's the problem with that notice, because that's the only notice anybody ever got about this leachate. It doesn't tell the public how dangerous it is. It doesn't tell the public that it's coming from 4 different landfills, 2 of them in Tennessee. It doesn't tell the public that they're bringing this in from industrial waste landfills, and it doesn't tell the public just how defective their system is that's going to be accepting this waste. So we had a meeting with the city attorney of Somerset. He required that we have a meeting with him in order to get these documents, and I put this in the state of Kentucky's request for open records request. I talked about that to them. When I asked him, this is John Adams, the city attorney, when I asked him where these landfills were located, he indicated he did not know, that he hadn't researched that. Then I asked the state of Kentucky very clearly, please provide any and all records that would indicate where these landfills are, how many landfills are contracted, and contracts of these landfills and the city of Somerset, and the contracts between the city of Somerset trucking companies in transporting this leachate from these landfills, and any approval and monitoring from your office for these projects. Please provide any and all records from any agency within the state of Kentucky regarding these landfill leachate contracts with the city of Somerset. That's the first open records request. And I asked for a lot of other things. Anything about what's going through this system up there, this defective system. So I just want to read, this is some of the answers that came back from the state of Kentucky, which I find just kind of bone chilling, to be quite frank. So one of the first questions I say, and they're quoting back my question. Please provide any and all records. This is, oh, by the way, Exhibit 2. Please provide any and all records on a January 31st, 2017 letter from Dana Whitus, Wastewater Division, City of Somerset, to Mr. Terry Humphreys, PE Supervisor, KDOW, Kentucky Division of Water, Engineering Section. See attached letter. This letter is regarding the Sinking Creek WVP geomembrane liner repairs. Please provide any and all records that would indicate that this project was in fact completed, including inspections made by the Kentucky Divisions of Water. This is what their answer was. EEC currently has no records responsive to this request. Now this is in 2021. I'm hitting them with this request. The Sinking Creek WTP geomembrane liner repairs were a maintenance-related problem that did not require any submitted to the Division of Water. Submission of the completion of the certification was not required. So one of the things that was wrong with this Somerset plant was the membranes around these pools where this stuff is. The State Division of Water didn't even care to follow up to find out was this done. They have no documents showing we followed up and this was done. They could not provide any documents. I just find that amazing. Here's another one. I ask, again, this is Exhibit 2 request. Please provide any and all records regarding a proposal submitted by Tim Anderson, City of Somerset, on April 23rd, 2018. This proposal was for the removal, dewatering, and management of wastewater solids from Pittman Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant. See attached. Please provide any and all records that would indicate that this project was actually completed. Please provide any and all records that would indicate that the Kentucky Division of Water verified and or inspected that this project was completed. So in other words, they're acknowledging their thing's defective. Okay, this was their answer back. Response. The EEC currently has no records responsive to this request. There are no records of completion on the Pittman Creek WWTP improvements. Okay, this is 2021. I'm asking for this. They were supposed to have this done, and it was an agreed order. And we're going to get to that agreed order back in 2018, I think, 2017, 2018. 2021, nobody's following up. So, the State Division of Water and State EPA has no records that they're doing anything, or that they followed up to see did anybody fix anything. Okay, so third request, let's see. The facility has 5, this is the third request. We're on Exhibit 2 still, Exhibit 2, page 1. Where am I at? The facility has had 5 consecutive quarter of TAN violations. The facility is on a quarterly non-compliance report. On page 2, paragraph C of this document, it states Somerset, and I'm quoting the state of Kentucky, the Somerset WTP, that's wastewater treatment plant, shall submit quarterly progress reports for each of these month periods to the cabinet that describes its progress with this agreed order. Please provide any. So then I ask, state of Kentucky, please provide any and all records indicating that Somerset WWTP did submit these reports, including reports submitted, and did they in fact comply with this order. So in other words, they contracted with State of Kentucky an agreed court order saying they're going to fix everything, right? This is what the State of Kentucky came back when I asked for records of that. Did they do it? The State of Kentucky replied, all of their available information regarding case number DOW, and this is the case number, the EPA case number, was provided to the requester on August 13, 2021. In other words, they have no records, because there's no records coughed up ever by the state of Kentucky or the state EPA where anybody went and verified that the city of Somerset actually abided by this agreed order and fixed this stuff. They have no records showing that they did this. Okay, exhibit number 2, page number 2, exhibit number 2. This will be the 4th request. Please provide any and all records regarding an agreed order on September 19th, where it says in the agreed order, the responsible part, and I'm quoting what it says right in the agreed order, the stipulated penalties. The responsible party shall pay a stipulated penalty in the amount not to exceed $1,000 for each failure to timely submit what's called a CAP. Please provide any and all records indicate, and then my request is please provide any and all records indicating that these fines have been paid. So in other words, from 2016 on, I went back as far as 2016, and we're going to get into these violations. We're going to show them to you. They made an agreed order that they would pay fines if they didn't do what they're supposed to do. The response to the state of Kentucky to my request for these documents is all available information regarding the agreed order and case number DOW, and then the case number is actually 170216, was provided. So in other words, they've never received any fines. From 2016 to current, they have received no fines for basically allowing E. coli and all this other stuff into Sinking Creek and to the Lake Cumberland. Okay, so this goes on and on and on. I want to go now. Here's where I specifically on page 3, Michael, we're on page 3, Exhibit 2. Number 8, request. In an article by the Commonwealth Journal dated May 6, 2021, see attached, page 3. I repeat this, what Keck said. Okay, his notice to the notice, which is really a lack of notice to the public. Then I ask, please provide any and all records that would indicate where these landfills are. Anything about these landfills, okay? The state of Kentucky came back. Their answer up to this request was, and response number 8, the Division of Wastewater Management does not have copies of any contracts between the city and the landfill companies and or the haulers. This is their wording, appears to be more appropriate to be asked in the city of Somerset. So in other words, the state of Kentucky and the state EPA have zero documents regarding any leachate from landfills coming through this defective system as of June 2021. They had no knowledge of it, can cough up no documents. That's what this says. Okay, so we did another this is the basic open records request, and this is the one to the Division of Water again, and it talks about leachate. So we mentioned in several different open records requests, we're asking about leachate from landfills. Okay, so the reason I'm pointing that out is because and one of the responses in a meeting also with the city of Somerset, they don't know anything about no leachate, and at first they wouldn't cough up any documents. Okay, now let's move on to exhibit number 5. Exhibit number 5 is the actual Somerset Wastewater Project loan may cause it. This is the headline. This is the only notice that the public ever got that we can find on this leachate. Okay, it was an article in the Commonwealth Journal by Carla Slavey, and the heading says nothing about leachate. The heading says Somerset Wastewater Project loan may cause sewer rates to rise. All the way over to page 3, at the bottom of page 3 is where exhibit 5, the bottom of page 3 is where they do this very limited notification to the public during this meeting. And that's where he says, we're now accepting leachate, we're going to make $300,000, and it's from landfills. And I want to go over to page 4 of exhibit 5, where it says vroom, get it in big letters. It's real important that I read this. This is city council member. This is during the city council member. This is what he says about this leachate. Councilor Tom Eastham pointed out that treating the leachate was an environmental benefit, saying it keeps raw leachate from draining out from the landfill into local landscapes. Well, that is if you take the leachate and put it through a system that's working. So he does not say, no one in this article says, A, we're bringing it in from 4 different landfills. B, we're bringing it in from industrial waste landfills, which can have some of the worst things like fluorocarbons, PFAs, PFOAs, okay? And C, oh, by the way, our system is broken. We know it's broken because we're still getting violations all the way up to 2021. And we're bringing this stuff in and running it through this defective system. Nobody ever tells the public this. That's the best notification they gave. Now, we're going to go to exhibit number 6, is the actual leachate monthly total gallons. This is where, after about 6 months of browbeating them and getting the Attorney General's office involved, because at first this city attorney would not turn over documents. He danced around it, and I really don't know that much about leachate. I haven't researched this. And he even said in our first meeting with him, and he only turned over about this many documents, okay? None of it had anything to do with this leachate stuff, when he knew specifically that's what we were asking for. In the meeting, I asked him again, how many landfills are you bringing this stuff in from? And his answer was, well, I haven't researched this. Well, he had plenty of time to research it. And it wasn't, again, until we contacted the Attorney General's office, sent them all the documents that we had, and explained our concern. And the Attorney General's office, thank you, by the way, our Attorney General, Mr. Cameron, for stepping in. And then all of a sudden, magically, they coughed up the documents like 6 months later, after we were pounding them with it. Okay, so in exhibit number 6, Page 1 is the first page. Well, first page, it starts in December 2019 is when they start bringing leachate in. Please remember that date, because when I go to show you the violations, you're going to see that they start bringing this leachate in 2019, December 2019, right up through 2021, while their system is still failing, while they're getting written up by the state of Kentucky for these violations. Okay, so it starts in December 2019. Go to the bottom of the page 1. Exhibit 6, and you'll see the 4 different landfills: Volunteer Regional, Laurel Ridge, Meadow Branch, and Tri-K. If you skip over to Exhibit 6, the last page of Exhibit 6, and we're going to show you this exhibit again later on. 2 of these landfills, again, are in Tennessee. The overall totals that they're bringing in, and this is as of November 2021, this year. And keep in mind, we're in December, we're just before Christmas right now as I'm reading this to you, and they're still bringing this stuff in. The overall year-to-date total of this leachate that they have brought in through this defective system from 2019 to 2021 is 22,457,038 gallons. Let me repeat that. And by now, it's probably definitely over 22,500,000 gallons. So let's just round up, because this was in November 2021. So as of we sit here today, they have brought in at least 22,500,000 gallons of this toxic waste leachate from these 4 different landfills, and have put it from 2019 to November 2021 through this system. And this is the document that the City of Somerset actually provided. Now we're on exhibit number 7. Page 1 of exhibit number 7. C8, fluorocarbon resins, PFOAs, PFOs, and these are called forever chemicals, okay? PFAs are a family of thousands of compounds that have among the strongest bonds in organic chemistry, prized for their ability to resist heat, oil, grease, and water. That's how they got their moniker, forever chemicals. It takes a very, very long time for them to break down in nature and in the human body. PFOAs and PFOs are just 2 of the family of fluorocarbons called PFCs, which in turn are part of the fluorocarbon family. These these compounds are used in such products as carpets, clothing treatments, coating for paper, cardboard packing and leather products, industrial surfactants, wetting agents, additives and coatings, processing agents, and the manufacturing of fluoropolymers such as non-stick coatings on cookware. Remember Teflon? DuPont's monster that poisoned a lot of people. That's what we're talking about. C8 is what they used in Teflon. Okay, membranes for clothing that are both waterproof and breathable. Electric wire casting, fire and chemical resistant tubing and plumbing thread, seal tape, as well as firefighting foam, and airports and military bases. All of this stuff is commonly found in industrial waste landfills. Okay, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, U.S. EPA, has shown specific concerns regarding the longer chain PFAs, that's PF6 through PF8, with 8 or more carbons, such as PFOAs and PFOs. They are more than toxic. Okay. Exposure to some of these chemicals is linked to harmful health. This is from the EPA, federal EPA, is linked to harmful health effects in the liver, kidneys, blood, and immune system. This stuff is toxic and it's carcinogenic. Okay, now that's PFC4 through C8, but mostly C8. Also, you have what's normally found in these landfills, hexavalent chromium. How many people here have seen the movie Aaron Brockovich? That's C6. That's hexavalent chromium. Hexavalent chromium is a toxic compound, sometimes found in water, is a carcinogenic form of these metal chromium in an oxidated state. C6, which is what it's normally called, It's odorless, tasteless, and can be found naturally in rock, soils, and plants. It also can come from industrial sources, finding its way into our drinking water through erosion and leakage. By the way, this is Exhibit 8, hexavalent chromiums at the top of the page. Hexavalent chromium can cause liver damage, reproductive problems, and developmental problems. In 2008, research by the National Technology Program and other bodies prompted the California Office of the Environmental Health Hazard Assessment to conclude that it does cause cancer in humans. Now, here's something else that's commonly found in industrial waste landfills. In fact, a lot of these, they have to have it on their permit, knowing they're getting permitted, knowing that they're going to be handling this stuff. That's why they have to have a special industrial waste permit. And a lot of these things are listed on their permits. Okay, diachlorobenzene. They are manufactured for the pigments. Again, this is Exhibit 8. They are manufactured for the pigments for printing inks, textiles, plastics, enamels, paints, leathers, and rubber. Chronic long-term exposure may result in the effects of gastrointestinal, respiratory, and central nervous system in humans. A human study detected a possible association between benzene-based azidones, including 3.3 diachlorobenzene. This is hard to pronounce. You guys are reading this with me. You should be seeing this on your video. Animal studies via the oral route have reported an increased incidence of tumors at a variety of sites. The EPA classifies these as B2 probable human carcinogen. Okay? Hexachlorobutadiene is a colorless liquid. Okay? It's another thing commonly found in these toxic waste, industrial waste landfills. It is mainly used to make rubber compounds. It is also used as a solvent to make lubricants and gyroscopes and in heat transfer liquid. As a hydraulic fluid, EPA has classified hexachlorobutadiene as a Group C possible human carcinogen. Also, we have what's called diolurobenzene, PDCB, is a chlorinated volatile organic compound, a VOC, that is widely used, essentially a pure form, as a repellent against snakes, rats, mice, squirrels, bats. It's basically a poison. And as a deodorizer for toilets, urinals, diaper pails, and as an insectional fumigant, and as an air freshener. The it's hard to read these things. Diachlorobenzene may be a carcinogen in humans since it has been shown to cause kidney and liver cancer in animals. Many scientists believe there is no safe level of exposure of a carcinogen. Okay, now we're going to talk about what's called a suspended solids. Suspended solids. Remember this word because you're going to see it a lot in the violations that were written up by the state of Kentucky. Suspended solids is the amount of tiny solid particles that remain suspended in water and acts as a colloid. The measurement of suspended solids is one way to gauging water quality. When suspended solids are left untreated, these can contribute to sewer pipe blockage and cause damage in water systems. Okay. And suspended solids can be, pretty big size solids. If it's floating, it's a suspended solid. Now, if something is getting through a system that can float and you can calibrate it, then fluorocarbons, which they're measured in parts per million, very tiny things, literally millions of those can be balanced on a suspended solid. It's real important to understand that. High concentration of suspended solids can cause many problems for stream health and adequate life. Common human pollutants, contaminants include pesticides, lead, bacteria, and mercury. Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, whole effluent toxicity. This is real important because what the word effluent is, what is discharge coming out of that plant? That's what's called effluent. That's what they're supposed to be testing for. Wet test measures wastewater effects on specific test organisms' ability to survive and grow and reproduce. So if your wet test is off and your effluent is off, then you're allowing these organisms to get into the lakes, waters, and streams. Okay, and then we have what's called CBODs or BODs. The biochemical oxygen demand, that's what BOD stands for, of a water determines the impact of decaying matter on a species and a specific ecosystem. Sampling of BOD tests how much oxygen is needed by the bacteria to break down the organic matter. So if your BOD count or CBOD count is off, then there's something wrong, especially if the levels are way off. And finally, I know I'm getting into a lot of the science of this, but there's a reason for this, folks. You're about to see violations by the state of Kentucky that cover all of these, given to the city of Somerset. And this is why it's real important to explain this to you guys, what this stuff is, before I get into the violations. Now we're on Exhibit 9, and we're going to go into Escherichia coli, in other words, E. coli. I probably mispronounced that, but everybody has heard of E. coli, and it's not good. What is E. coli? E. coli is bacteria found in environmental foods and intestines of people and animals. E. coli are the large and diverse group of bacteria. Although most strands of E. coli are harmless, others can make you sick. Some kinds of E. coli can cause diarrhea, while others may cause urinary tract infections, respiratory illness, pneumonia, and other illnesses. E. coli is some nasty, nasty stuff. Now we're on Exhibit number 10. This is straight from the EPA, the Environmental Pollution Standards for landfills regarding PFOAs. Again, this is Exhibit number 10. I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to read some of the important stuff. Landfill ambient air also contains elevated concentrations of PFAs, primarily semi-volatile precursors, e.g. fluorotelomere alcohols, compared to upwind control sites. So in other words, they've tested these landfills and they know that these PFOAs and PFOAs exist. This suggests that landfills are potential sources of atmospheric PFAs. The fate of PFAs inside landfills is controlled by a confluence of biological and a botanic process with waste of leachate. So in other words, this is nasty stuff. Owing to the semi-volatile nature of solid precursor compounds and their degradation products, future studies also need to include landfill gas to clarify degradation pathways of the overall fate of PFAs. PFAs at landfills. This is a study. This is a Mid-Atlantic, and this is still on Exhibit number 10. Overview of litigation into the U.S. EPA's new standards have unleashed a wave of litigation against the manufacturers of PFAs and some secondary commercial users of PFAs. At least 2 cases in Alabama and Michigan involving alleged releases of landfills brought by plaintiffs bar the environmental groups. So there's already discovery in these lawsuits. The biggest one being the C8 DuPont over in West Virginia. They're releasing of the PFOAs in West Virginia, and they have lost numerous and have paid out record fines to the EPA for these fluorocarbons, the PFAs and PFOAs. And then the Wolverine on Exhibit 10, the last page, Wolverine worldwide litigation. As many as 90 cases recently filed against a shoe manufacturer stemming from PFAs releases from landfills. So that just gives you an idea of what's in these landfills. Exhibit 11. This is, I'm going to hit this next. This is an email from the state of Kentucky Pre-treatment coordinator, Kentucky Division of Water, Diana Robertson. When I asked her and I asked the city of Somerset about these PFOAs and the concern that this Somerset Waste Treatment Plant was defective, and they're bringing in this leachate from these landfills that are notorious for having these PFOAs. Also, several businesses, and we're going to get into that. So there's just numerous, reasons to believe that there's a good chance that these PFOAs are there. Why hasn't the state of Kentucky tested for this? Why haven't they made Somerset test for this? And this is the answer back that we got. This is dated from an email, and you're looking at this on Exhibit 11. Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. This is from Dana Robertson to, because I also, Dana Whitus, the head of the waste treatment plant, asked her this. And this is her answer. As a follow-up to an earlier conversation, there are currently no federal or state wastewater standards or limits for PFOA, C8, PFOs, or PFAs. As a result, wastewater treatment plants in Kentucky are not routinely sampling for these parameters. I wouldn't expect to see sampling of this industrial use or discharge for the parameters either, as there are no applicable limits. Well, I think that that's incorrect. I think the DuPont, in their lawsuit, they set the standard, and the EPA accepted that standard, and it's parts per million. And yeah, they can test for that. In the city of Somerset, this is, let's go back and look at this again, because I want you to look at the date of this. This is November 10th, 2021. This is after the city of Somerset, after the state EPA and the state water district knows that they are accepting leachate from these landfills, from 4 different landfills, industrial leachate, and they've been accepting it for 2 years. And they knew this, the state of Kentucky knew this in May, because I notified them all the way back in May, okay, that through our open records request and through phone calls, they knew that they're bringing in this leachate from landfills. They should know what's potentially in these landfills, and now there's an email saying, no, we're not going to test, we don't have to. I just found that shocking. Here's another now we're going to Exhibit 12. This is from the EPA. Interim recommendations for addressing groundwater contaminated with PFOAs and PFOs. Now remember, the state, email from the state of Kentucky says, no, there's no recommendations. We're not going to test. We don't have to test. This is what the EPA says about that. Using a screening level of 40 parts per trillion, PPT, to determine if a PFOA and or a PFOs is present in any site and may warrant further attention. There's your standard. She said there's no standards. Yes, there is. And it took me about 5 seconds to pull this up from the EPA's website. Screening levels are risk-based values that are used to determine if the level of contamination may warrant further investigation at that site. Using the EPA's PFOA and PFOs lifetime drinking water health advisory level of 70 parts per trillion as now think about that, 70 parts of a PFOA per trillion. So very little PFOAs can become hazardous. That's what they're saying. That's the standard that has been set, despite what the head of the Kentucky Division of Water says. She's wrong, and here it is. 70 parts per trillion as a preliminary remediation goal, PRG, for contaminating groundwater that is in current or potential source of drinking water where no state or tribal MCL or other applicable, relevant, and or appropriate requirements are available or sufficiently protected. So in other words, if your state didn't have a law, here's what they're supposed to follow. That's pretty clear. I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to understand what that says. Okay, now we're going to get into the actual violations starting in 2016. Well, it may have started before 2016. My open records request, I asked for 2016 to current to the state of Kentucky and to the city of Somerset. Now we've told you the concern about the stuff, what is potentially going through the system. Now we're going to show you what has been documented going through this defective system. Okay, we are on exhibit number 13. This exhibit is dated 3/17/2016, March 2016. And this is an answer back to a previous violation from the state of Kentucky. This is an answer from Timothy Anderson, Somerset Wastewater. And it basically says, one of the reasons for getting this violation, as referenced above, the Pittman Creek Treatment Plant was out of compliance on 2/2/2016 to 3/2016 for concentrations of CBODs, and I'm not going to get into all the numbers. Okay, we were out of compliance due to abnormally high flow through the plant causing a heavy rain. This resulted in a pass-through of CBODs. Okay, that's one of their excuses. Exhibit number 14. Exhibit number 14 is a notice of violation. It's dated 6/14/2016, so that's June 14, 2016. And it says, and this is real important, every one of these notice of violations, and we're going to go through a bunch of them to show you how defective this system is up there, that they're now bringing this stuff in. Every one of these violations starts off with this. Please listen to this. No person shall directly or indirectly throw, drain, run, or otherwise discharge into any of the waters of the Commonwealth, or cause, permit, or suffer to be thrown, drain, run, or otherwise discharge into such waters any pollutant or any substance that shall cause or contribute to the pollution of the waters of the Commonwealth in contravention to the standards adopted by the Cabinet, or in contravention of any of the rules, regulation, permits, or orders of the Cabinet, or in contravention of any of the provisions of this chapter. That's KRS, Kentucky Revised Statute 224-70-110. Every one of these violations that I'm going to go through, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to hit the highlights, and there's dozens of them from 2016 to May 28 or 2021. All start off with that. So in this one, they're talking about CBODs, the limits. URM failing to comply, the permits limit for CBODs. Corrections are a monthly average of 10 milligrams and maximum of weekly of 15 milligrams per micrograms per liter. I think it's liter. The report results that a maximum weekly average of 19 with mg over L. Okay, so their CBODs are out of sync. That shows that there's something wrong. And then again, this is in Pittman Creek, where Pittman Creek again flows into Lake Cumberland. Lake Cumberland flows into the Cumberland River. Here's what else is important on every single one of these violations. At the end, it says this. These violations are so serious, every one of these violations say this. Violations of the above cited statutes and or regulations are subject to a civil penalty per day per violation. Violations carry a civil penalty of $25,000 per day per violation, depending on the statutes and regulations violated. So in other words, it's so serious, the state of Kentucky could be fining them $25,000 per day per violation. That is listed on every one of these violations. Now, we're going to exhibit number 15. Exhibit number 15. This is another answer back from the city of Somerset as to why they're non-compliant. This answer is dated 11/23/2016. And it's referenced the non-compliance for October 2016. And it says, a reference above, the Pittman Creek plant was out of compliance on 10/5/2016. Since it is very uncommon for our effluent, that's what comes out of their system, NH3 to be above 1.0 mg over I, and because the NH3 levels were below 1.0 the day before and the day after, this is an odd reading. It is our belief that it is out of compliance results most probably due to a mix-up of samples at the contract lab. So it's the lab's fault this time. Exhibit number 16. January 31st, 2017. Now we're into 2017. This is an answer from Dana Whitus to the state of Kentucky. Reference Seeking Creek, the geomembrane liner. It says, Dear Miss Humphreys, this letter is being sent to you to let you know that the City of Somerset is working with Kenvirons Incorporated on a project to replace deteriorated geomembrane liner material. Okay, so this is probably one of the reasons. Can't be the only reason, because later on you'll see they repaired a liner and they still keep getting violations. But this is one of the things that was wrong with this treatment plant. And this is again in January 2017. Okay, moving right along. Exhibit number 17. 2/27/17. This is a notice of violation, another one, from the state of Kentucky regarding Pittman Creek. And it says, failing to comply, total ammonia nitrogen. If your nitrogen levels are off, then there's something wrong. And it has the same thing. Violations above, you can be fined $25,000 a day, blah, 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 blah. Threat, yet no fines. Now we're on Exhibit 18. This exhibit, Exhibit 18, is dated April 25th, 2017. And this is another answer back from from Somerset to the Division of Water. And in this answer back, why they think their levels are off, it says, among other things, that it's probably due to a mix-up of samples at our contract lab or an invalid sample. So again, it's the lab's fault on that one. Okay, now on Exhibit 19, this is dated June 12, 2017. This is Pittman Creek again. This is another notice of violation from state of Kentucky to the City of Somerset. And it says, failing to comply for total ammonia nitrogen. So their levels are off again. And again, it has the same, threat that, you can be fined $25,000 a day, blah, 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 blah. Yet there's no fines. In Exhibit 20, this is another answer back from the plant manager, Tim Anderson, to the Division of Water as to why their levels are off. And it says, this issue was due to a bypass of raw sewage from the Sinking Creek Lagoon directly to our plant that temporarily caused an upset to the oxidation ditch and clarifier. In Exhibit 21, here is another notice violation. Now we're into August 14, 2017. August 2017. Another notice of violation regarding Pittman Creek. And then, again, it's another total ammonia nitrogen. Their nitrogen levels are off. Again, with the same, obviously something's wrong that they're not fixing. Again, the same threat of $25,000 a day. And then in August 2017, one of the responses back from the City of Somerset plant supervisor to the Division of Water, State Division of Water is, this issue was due to the bypass of untreated raw sewage from Sinking Creek Lagoon directly into our plant that temporarily caused an upset to the oxidation ditch and clarifier. Now we're into Exhibit 24. Exhibit 24. This is another letter from the Division of Water, from Somerset Plant Manager to the State of Kentucky EEC Division of Water. And it's dated September 27th, 2017. And it basically says one of the reasons their levels are off is because E. coli, Pittman Creek was out of compliance of the week of 8/13/2017 through 8/19/2017, parts per million of E. coli, and by monthly average of E. coli. This issue was due to an equipment malfunction in R2 clarifier. So now we have equipment malfunction and they're dumping E. coli into Pittman Creek. And then now we're at November 28th, 2017. There's another answer from the City of Somerset to the Division of Water, State Division of Water. This issue was due to another substantial bypass of raw sewage from the Sinking Creek Lagoon, currently under repair, directly to our plant that temporarily caused an upset on plant effluent. That's what comes out, and that's what they should be measuring going from their plant to into Pittman Creek. Now we're in December 2017. Pittman Creek. In Exhibit 26, here is yet another notice of violation. This is dated December 4th, 2017, and it addresses Pittman Creek once again. And the notice says, failing to comply. Monitoring point 001-2 for E. coli. The permitted limit of E. coli is concentrated 30-day geometric average is less than equal to, and it's got the parts per million and all that good stuff. So in other words, their E. coli levels are off in their effluent. So in other words, E. coli is getting into Pittman Creek. And then it threatens them failure to comply, blah, 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 blah. Okay, no, and it goes through the no person shall directly, indirectly throw drain stuff into the lake. So it's basically telling them you're letting this stuff into the lake. Also, it says by failing to comply on the no ammonia nitrogen. So on this date, the ammonia nitrogen levels are off as well. And again, they threaten the civil penalty of $25,000 a day for violation, and yet there's no fines. Finally, in December 13, 2017, keep in mind, it started at least from 2016. Now we're in December 2017, so almost 2 years have gone by. Finally, the State Division of Water refers the City of Somerset, almost 2 years later, of all these violations to the state EPA. And in this letter it says, your case has been referred to the Division of Enforcement of the Department of Environmental Protection to bring your facility in compliance with Kentucky environmental laws. Wow, kind of took them long enough. Again, this is Exhibit 27. I just find that amazing. It took that long to do that. So, okay, and welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the video of our Pittman Creek and Sinking Creek and Lake Cumberland and how they all fit together, and it gives you a little bit more perspective and a little break from all the documents. Folks, as you can see, we have tons of documents, but I try to break it down to just this many. We're going to breeze through some of these, and then we'll try to not bore you too much more with documents. But these documents are important because they tell a story, and the story is pretty shocking to me that this has happened. So, and the documents speak for themselves. So now we're back to Exhibit 28. Exhibit 28. Now, as a result of me hitting the state of Kentucky with open records requests, they coughed up a bunch of documents. Some of those you've already seen. Well, some of the documents that they coughed up, and as you can see in Exhibit 28, they redacted it. They blacked out a bunch of stuff. And the question is, what right do they have to black out a bunch of, this is analysis, obviously. It says right above it, chain of custody, it's analysis of water, and it says sample description, sample analysis, bottom preservation, and it's blacked out. And the question, it begs the question, A, should they have blacked that out? I don't think so. These are we the people's documents. The taxpayers of Kentucky paid for this. Okay, the state of Kentucky didn't pay for this, taxpayers did. So this McCoy Laboratories, they obviously tested the water. It has to do with the city of Somerset because it's got it right on it. And what are they hiding? You know, and there's page after page of this, all through Exhibit 28. Here it is, where they're hiding something, and that really, it really just causes a lot of concern. If there's nothing there, then show us. Why are you hiding that? Why are you redacting that? So we'll move on. Now we're up to Exhibit 30. Again, this is January 2018 now. We're in January 2018. This is a letter from the City of Somerset to the State Division of Water. More reasons or excuses why their effluent is off. Effluent, again, is what comes out, what the final stuff that comes out, their effluent that goes into Pittman Creek, or this would be Pittman Creek. This issue was due to a sludge load of particularly treated sewage from the Sinking Creek Lagoon directly to our plant after repair of lagoon liner and resuming normal operation that temporarily caused an upset of the plant effluent. Okay, now we're in February 2018. This is yet another letter from the City of Somerset to the Kentucky Division of Water. And this one says, this is another why we're out of non-compliance. And this is their example of non-compliance of E. coli, CBOD, TSS removal. So there are a lot of stuff out of compliance. As referenced above, the Pittman Creek plant was out of compliance on the week of 1/16/2018, 1/18/2018, for 744 minimum parts per million. I think that's what that means, or 100 milliliters. Just, you can read the numbers yourself, but it's obviously bad. Of E. coli, and also they're off by CBODs, and the TSS monthly was off. So this issue was due to the sinking creek lagoon going back online. The change in flow to our plant is what temporarily caused the upset to our facility. So yet another different reason as to why they're out of compliance. Okay, so now we're into March 2018. Again, they're getting hit again. A notice of violation from the state of Kentucky for failing to comply, what they're permitted for total suspended solids. Also, if you go on down here, failing to comply for ammonia nitrogen. Turn the page. Oh, this is Exhibit 32. This is Exhibit 32. Second page, failing to comply suspended solids. Failing to comply for E. coli. These numbers are going way up, okay, going up, up, up. Failing to comply for CBODs. And again, you have the threat, again, and also their ammonia nitrogen levels are off. Again, this is Exhibit 32, and on the last page it says, once again, you can be fined $25,000 a day per event, yet no fines. Now we're up to March 22nd, 2018. This is a letter to Dana Whitus, who's the head of the division, or the Somerset Waste Treatment Plant. It says the purpose of the administrative conference will be discuss the violations that were cited. Okay, so now, finally in 2018, it's been going on at least since 2016. Keep in mind, before 2016, I don't know, I didn't ask. I'm almost afraid to. But from 2016 to 2018, all these violations, and they're just now deciding that they need to sit down and have a conference with the City of Somerset. And that's Exhibit 33. Okay? Exhibit 34. This is another answer, another excuse as to why they're out of compliance. This is for March of 2018. And it says the Pittman Creek was out of compliance for CBODs, and because, and this was one that really struck me funny. This is, I'm laughing to keep from crying. This is an excuse that, I'm sorry, just doesn't pass the smell test. Their excuse for this is the issue was due to a large amount of soap from the numerous car washes very near the plant. Okay, I've been to that plant, been all around it, been in the woods, tried to get to Pittman Creek to test water. There's no car washes around this plant. There's no car washes near this plant. I'd like to know where these car washes could have possibly be to cause this kind of a violation. And how much E. coli can you get off of a car to cause these violations? I just find this, the state of Kentucky didn't bat an eye to this, didn't question this. I just find this highly questionable that somebody would answer this that way, because I don't get it. There's no car washes near that plant. There's no way to do car washes near that plant. Nobody would come to them. Anytime there's a car wash in the City of Somerset, it's right on 27. It's on a main thoroughfare. It's not anywhere. This plant is out a ways. It's not. And some of the video you saw showed where this plant. It's in the woods. And it's got thin. I mean, it looks like Area 51 around that plant. You know, you would think that they were hiding aliens in there or something. There's no way car washes were around that plant. If it is, I want the City of Somerset to come and show me where these car washes are. I just found that I don't know. The state of Kentucky should have questioned that, and they did not. Now we're up to Exhibit number 35. The Cetophilia dufyi is significantly off. This is April 2018. Again, this is Pittman Creek. Again, the same threats, blah, 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 blah. You're out of compliance. We can fine you. Okay. Okay, so now they're getting in. They forced the city of Somerset. This is April 2018. In April 2018, the city of Somerset has sent over a wastewater dewatering proposal. This is their proposal, how they're going to fix this. This is Exhibit 37. Exhibit 37. And this is real important to pay attention to the date on this, because it's just a few months later, they're bringing in leachate from landfills. Now, if you know that your facility is defective, you know you're getting all of these violations, and you're submitting a wastewater proposal, wouldn't it stand to reason that you might want to tell the state of Kentucky, oh, by the way, in this proposal, one of the ways we're going to fix it and raise money is we're going to bring in leachate from the most toxic waste places on earth for industrial landfills and put it through the system. One would think that they would be required to put that in their proposal. No, there's no mention of leachate in this proposal, Exhibit 37. Nothing. It goes into what they're going to do. But I want to read this on page 4 of 6. Page 4 of 6 of Exhibit 37. The well is estimated to hold approximately 100,000 gallons. Therefore, total estimated volume to be processed is 900 gallons. H&A will remove an unlimited volume of the facility and must be allowed to dewater. This is the sludge that they're talking about, that it can handle, only up to 900 gallons. Okay, and here clearly they're getting ready to bring in millions, 22,500,000 gallons of leachate from landfills on this system, and it begs the question, what? I mean, are you kidding me? I'm not an expert in this, but I don't think it takes an expert or a rocket scientist to figure out that this a lot of questions, and really not good answers, okay? So, and this was signed on April 23rd, 2018. Okay, so now we're up to April 25th, 2018. Again, they're a violation of whole effluent toxicity, another notice of violation. Here we are at Pittman Creek, failing to comply with CBOTS. This is May 2018. Again, the threat. We can fine you $25,000 a day. Blah 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 blah. Okay, nothing. Okay, so here is Exhibit number 40. Exhibit number 40. This was done on 6/6/2018. June 6, 2018. This is important because it's a site visit report form. Okay, and in this site visit report form, they have to fill in blanks. And some of the blanks that they filled in, and keep in mind, this is June 2018, they already know that they're going to be bringing in leachate. Why? Because we're going to show you the actual contract here in a minute. So they knew, or they should have known, they probably knew that they were going to do that. You don't just contract overnight something this big with 4 landfills. No. This was in the works. But yet, in Exhibit 40, page 15, it says, any floor drains, where do they discharge? Floor trenches, underground pits, and the outside chemical storage. In the event of a spill, the pit would be pumped out and contains would be hauled off site. And it's got yes. So it's going to be hauled off site if you have a spill. Well, no, they've had spills. They've answered that. That's part of their answers. And it's gone right into Sinking Creek, which goes into Pittman Creek, which goes into Lake Cumberland. Adequate spill control prevention measures. Yes. Really. Why are you getting all these violations? And some of your answers are, we've had this spill. Are there any unusual conditions or problems with the wastewater treatment system? NA. Non-applicable. Really? The state of Kentucky accepted this when you've got all these violations? No, by the way, there's a bunch more here too. And they just filled NA. Nothing problem with the wastewater treatment system here. Really? Why are you having to come up with these proposals? Why are you having meetings? Why are you getting violations? Okay. Discharge to the sewer. Continuous. Here's the biggie. Exhibit 40, page 16. Is hazardous waste stored or discharged? Yes, they answered that correctly. Is hazardous waste stored or discharged? Yes, so they're admitting on page 16, Exhibit 40, that they are handling hazardous waste. Okay, Were hazardous waste manifests reviewed? No. Were hazardous manifest waste reviewed? Exhibit 40, page 17. No. So the state of Kentucky didn't bother, or whoever's doing this inspection, didn't even bother in reviewing their hazardous waste manifest. Was hauled waste documentation reviewed? No. Nobody even reviewing this. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. Exhibit number 41. Again, this is June 2018. Now we're in June 2018. Pre-treatment clients. Here's one of the scariest documents that I saw. This is from the Energy Environmental Cabinet, Department of Environmental Protection, the EPA, state EPA. They're sending them a notice, and this is what it says. Remember me going into hexavalent chromium, C6. This was the Aaron Brockovich case. At the bottom of this exhibit, it says, the hexavalent chromium limit in the UGN's permit needs to be corrected, and the units for permit limits should be specified. So they're admitting, wait a minute, you know that these people are handling hexavalent chromium, C6, one of the most toxic things on earth, and you just, I don't know. I found that scary. I'm not an expert, but I know what hexavalent chromium is. I know what it did to that city in California, and this is obviously a defective plant that's being violated over and over again by the state of Kentucky, and they're saying, oh, it's like no big deal. Hexavalent chromium needs to be. I just, let's move on. Okay, exhibit number 42. This is dated June 14th, 2018. Notice of violations. This got a list of violations, a bunch of them. E. coli, TSS, CBOD, their wet test, their TAN test, all off. And it's just, it's kind of a conglomerate of you know, during all of these violations. Notice of violation, and there's a bunch of them. It's one inspection, okay? And it goes into the civil penalty that, you know. Okay, so part of the agreed order, now we're on exhibit number 42. This is part of the conference. Okay, let me back up for a minute. This is part of the conference that they have. Okay, so they're on June 14, 2018. They're having a conference, and they're conferencing about all of these violations. And then there's a proposed resolution on the second page. Under number 5, it says, civil penalty to be discussed. Somerset WWTP, that stands for Wastewater Treatment Plant, shall pay the cabinet a civil penalty in the amount of blank. There's a blank there. For violations described above, the amount of the civil penalty shall be tendered by Somerset WWTP to the cabinet within 30 days of the execution of the agreed order. So in other words, if they don't fix everything in this agreed order, they're supposed to be paying a fine. And when is this done? Again, this conference was on June 14, 2018. I'm here to tell you where this document is going to show right up through 2021. The violations continue, and nobody paid anything. No fines, no penalties, nothing. The state of Kentucky allowed this to go on. Okay, so now we're up to July 3rd, 2018. Let me read this. Exhibit 43. Exhibit 43. Is the facility being, page 3, Exhibit 43. Is the facility being properly operated and maintained as specified in Regulation 5:065? Question. This provision requires that the operation is necessary to achieve compliance with the conditions of the permit. Compliance status. Violations, obs but impending. Violation trends observed. So it's showing here once again that and this is subparagraph A. This is part of their violations include proper operation and maintenance of all facilities, systems of treatment and control, and related appurtenances which are installed or used by the permittee to achieve compliance with permit regulations. B. Proper operation and maintenance also includes adequate laboratory controls and appropriate quality assurance procedures. So it's showing that they're in violation with that. Okay, and then on page 4, number 43, and this is the state of Kentucky documenting all this. Out of compliance, violations documented. The facility has failed to comply with the effluent limitations contained on the permit. In other words, their permit, which by the way is not even an industrial permit, it's a regular permit, they are out of compliance, and it goes into ammonia, nitrogen, E. coli, the CBODs, all of it again. Now we're up to July 9th, 2018. It's another evaluation of maintenance. July 11th, I'm going to go through these pretty quick because there's a lot of them. July 11th, 2018, exhibit number 45. Exhibit number 45, July 11th, 2018, page 3. Are the disinfectant units maintained and operated properly to allow for compliance with the permit conditions? Question mark. And that's KRS 401-5-005, section 1. Compliance status. Out of compliance. Violations documented. The violations documented. The facility has failed to properly maintain and or operate the disinfection unit. E. coli excursion from permits limit for monitoring period 6/1/2018, 6/30/2018. Okay, and then the next page, exhibit 45 still, page 4. Is the effluent compliance with KDES permit? Out of compliance. This facility has failed to comply with the effluent regulations. Okay. Here's another reason, excuse. This is dated July 2018. As above reference, it lists all the out of compliances, and it says, we're also out of compliance for E. coli. Weekly average of geometric average calculation. This issue was due to an upset of the system caused by switching from our number 2 concentrator to the number 1 concentrator. This caused our solids to remain suspended instead of settling to clarify. So remember, solids can be, pretty big as long as they're floating. And if solids are getting through, then guess what? Something that is parts per trillion, like these fluorocarbons, like C6, C8, these are measured in parts per trillions. If suspended solids are getting through, if these things exist in this wastewater treatment plant coming from these landfills, then guess what? They're getting through too. That's the concern. Okay, now we're up to September 2018. Here we go. More violations. September 2018. Ammonia nitrogen, E. coli, again, threatened, $25,000 a day. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. October 2018. Here we go. This is permit violations. This is their status. This is what their upgrade, City of Somerset corrective action plan. They had to submit a corrective action plan. This is how we're going to fix this. Okay. Then they have to submit reports, updates. This is the corrective action plan. This is exhibit number 49 as of October 2018. Now, this is real important. October 2018. Keep that date in mind. Nowhere in this corrective action plan when they're saying all they're going to do to fix this. In other words, it's still broken because this is what they're going to do to fix it. October 2018, no mention of leachate. No mention of bringing in leachate from landfills to the state of Kentucky from Somerset. And then comes the agreed order, September 19, 2018. This is the agreed order. This is what they're agreeing to do to fix this problem, or they're going to have to pay these fines and penalties that they agree. No mention of bringing leachate in from landfill. Not one mention. This is Exhibit 50. Exhibit 50. I'll go through this real quick. Do I have anything highlighted? No. Part of this agreement is stipulated penalties. I want you to go to Exhibit 50, number 2728. I want to read this to you because this is what they stipulated to. Now keep in mind, this is fall of 2018. They've already, from 2016 to now, not received one single fine, nothing, okay? Not told the state of Kentucky anything about their big plan about leachate. Number 28. Again, Exhibit 50. The responsible party shall pay a stipulated penalty in the amount not to exceed $1,000 for each numeric violation of the KPDES permit that is over 200% over the permitted limit. Payment of the stipulated penalty shall be paid by the responsible party, which is Somerset, to the cabinet within 30 days of the receipt of this notification. The penalty is in addition to and not in lieu of any other penalty that could be assessed. The cabinet may, in its discretion, waive the penalties. Okay, so they agreed to this. And how many penalties do you think that they would have as of I think December 2021 that we know of? Actually, the last documents that we got, I think, was in August or September. So fall 2021, none, 0 penalties. The state of Kentucky has not leveled any penalties or violations on this place. Now, we're in December 2018, exhibit number 51. They've agreed to all this stuff. They're still in violation. Failing to comply. This is December 2018. I'm going to flip through these pretty quick. January, now we're in 2019. Folks, they're bringing in leachate at this point. They're bringing in leachate from these landfills in 2019. Okay, here we are again. Failure to comply. Whole efficient toxicity. So they're off. Their levels are off. Again, more threats to be fined. January 11th, 2019. More your wet program is off. Exhibit number 54, February 2019. It goes into again. No person shall directly or indirectly throw, drain, run, or otherwise discharge into the waters of the Commonwealth, or cause or permit or suffer to throw, drain in the water, or run, otherwise discharge into it. To such waters any pollutant or any substance that shall cause or contribute to the pollution of the waters of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Okay, and it goes on. So every time they're getting a warning, it says this and it threatens to fine. We're in exhibit number 54. Now we're in February 2019, and there's still failures to comply. Failure to comply. Failure to comply. Threatened $25,000 a day. Moving right along. Now we're in 5/22/29, exhibit number 55, May 2019, exhibit 55. They're failing to comply. Now the E. coli levels are off. And by the way, some of these levels you'll notice in 2019, 2020, 2021, the levels get worse. Gee, could it be it's because you're bringing in toxic waste from 4 different landfills adding to this problem? I don't know. Seems like that could be the answer to why these levels are getting worse and worse and worse. And the state of Kentucky's not picking up on it, and the state EPA is doing 0 about it, other than threatening. You know, I'm going to use an analogy. Me and my brother, we were little. We were the 2 youngest ones. We were hellions. I mean, that's all there was to it. And my poor mom would only have Sunday to go off and go shopping and do something, and she would leave us hellions with my poor dad. And I'm telling you, my dad worked 6 days a week, and that was his day off too. If he had a ball game on and had a nice cold beer sitting there, my brother and I could bounce on the bed. We could tear the house down around his head, and he would threaten, you know, because we'd be upstairs, he'd be downstairs. He'd be, I'm coming up there. You better quit. I hear you. I'm coming up there. Well, after the 14th or 15th, I'm coming up there, we knew he ain't coming up there. He's got a ball game on. We can do anything we want. We're going to get away with it. Well, to me, that's a good analogy of what's going on here. They've been threatened a violation, notice a violation, $25,000 fine. We're going to get you. We're coming upstairs. And it never happens. No wonder the city of Somerset feels perfectly comfortable bringing in this toxic stuff from 4 different landfills, which is into an obviously defective system. So says the state of Kentucky Water District. Here we go. Exhibit number 55. Now we're in the May 2019. E. coli. Levels are off. Threaten. We're going to come and get you. This goes on and on. Now we're in September 2019. Here you go. Failing to comply. Your pH is off. Failing to comply. Your monitoring's off. More violations. We're going to come and get you. We're coming upstairs. We're going to come and get you. Now we're in October 2019. Here we go. Wastewater Treatment Plant. You're out of compliance. Violations. Here we go. The operator believes to say pending violation trends. Finding 3 excursions. The operator believes the pH excursion was caused by the contract lab person and other excursions. So now they're blaming the lab again, or caused by the repair of the lagoon liner. Okay. More violations. Okay, now, this is February 4th, 2019. Again, this is one of their corrective action plans. This is how we're going to fix it. Again, no mention of we're going to bring leachate into this defective facility by the city of Somerset, and one would think they would have to cough that up and tell them, oh, by the way, this thing you keep threatening us to fine us on, our defective system, we're going to bring in from 4 different landfills toxic waste from industrial landfills. No mention of it. Okay, then, Exhibit 60. Exhibit 60. This is a letter, again, signed on 15, or it's dated November 12th, 2019. This is signed by Dana Whitus and a bunch of other people from the city of Somerset, more of the corrective action plan, revision to the corrective action plan. And keep in mind, they start bringing in leachate, actually getting it on the 15th of November 2019. Here on the 12th of 2019 is their corrective action plan. One would think they might mention to the state of Kentucky, yeah, we're still not in compliant, and yeah, we're still defective. Oh, by the way, we're going to bring in this landfill stuff. Again, they're bringing it in on the 15th of November 2019. No mention of this to the state of Kentucky on November 12th, 2019. That doesn't let the state of Kentucky off the hook, because when they do find out, they do nothing. And here's the agreement. Exhibit number 62. Exhibit number 62. Leachate disposal agreement. Here it is, November 15th, 2019, where they're bringing in the first set of leachate from the Laurel Ridge landfill, which is in Tennessee, and the volunteer land. Both these landfills they start bringing this in are both out of Tennessee, Scott County, Tennessee, and Laurel County, Kentucky. Sorry, one of them's from Tennessee, and the other one's from Kentucky. Okay, exhibit number 62. Oh, and that is also signed by Mayor Alan Keck and Dana Whitus on page 4 of Exhibit 62. Okay, and now we're up to 5/14/2020. Again, a notice violation on Pittman Creek. Again, it goes into the the scary thing. You're not allowed, the KRS statutes saying you can't allow people basically to poison our waters. And then this description of noncompliance, and this is Exhibit 63 that you're looking at, Exhibit 63. And this one says, by failing to comply, monitoring for E. coli. And if you look at these numbers, it shows you what they're allowed, and the numbers are almost doubled what they're allowed. Okay, look at that for yourself, these numbers. And then down here in Part 2, again, failing to comply for E. coli. And then, again, on the last page of this, it says, violation can carry penalties of $25,000 per day, and yet there are no fines, right? Okay, and here is another update. This is Exhibit number 64. This is May 22nd, 2020, Exhibit number 64. This is an update to their corrective action plan. This is them, the city of Somerset, telling Frankfurt, look, we're working on it. We're doing something. We know we're not compliant. We're fixing it. We're fixing it. Well, this is May 2020. They have already been bringing in leachate for a while. And nowhere, and you would think, one would think this would be a good time to tell them, oh, by the way, this defective system down here that you keep sending us notices of violations on, we're bringing in 22 million gallons of toxic landfill stuff into this treatment plant. Nowhere do they mention in this, and I would think that the state of Kentucky should be highly aggravated that they don't mention this in their corrective action plan, because in my humble opinion they should. Okay, now exhibit number 65. This is 9/4/2020. This is September 4th, 2020. And we're in 2020 now. Another failure to comply. Notice of violation for Pittman Creek. Failing to comply. Monitoring point, total ammonia nitrogen. The nitrogen levels are off. Paragraph 2. E. coli levels are off. Again, if you look at these numbers, it looks like they're almost doubled. They're more than doubled. Okay? Next page. Still Exhibit 65. Failing to comply. E. coli. Ammonia nitrogen. Failing to comply for CBOT. page 3, again, failing to comply, monitor for a monitoring point, failing to comply for E. coli, failing to comply for suspended solids. This was number 8 of Exhibit 65. And again, CBODs, and here we go again, the threat, we can find you, but they never do. Now we're in November, Exhibit number 66, we're in November 2020. More of the same. Pittman Creek, failure to comply monitoring point, failure to comply monitoring point, failing to comply E. coli. Numbers again, way high. Failing to comply for ammonia nitrogen levels are off. CBODs are off. Failing to comply monitoring for dissolved oxygen. And again, the threat which never happens. Exhibit number 67. This is November 10th, 2020. Failing to comply. Monitoring point, failing to comply for E. coli, failing to comply ammonia nitrogen. CBODs, the same thing. Failing to comply, still no fines. That's number 67. Threats of fines, but no fine. Exhibit number 68. Here is yet another. This is September 17th, 2020. This is yet another corrective action plan. This is the City of Somerset sending what they're going to do to fix all this to Frankfurt. And it's signed, it's got Mayor Keck, Alan Keck at the top as mayor, and Dana Whitus. Nowhere in this action plan, once again, do they mention the fact that they're bringing in industrial waste from 4 different landfills to this defective plant. It might have been a good idea to tell Frankfurt that they're doing this. And they don't. There's no mention of Leachate in this. And the question is, why? Why would you keep that from Frankfurt? Okay. September 21st, 2020. This is from Diana Robertson. That's the one I did the letter to. This is, again, Diana Robertson telling them that your audit conducted on September 17, 2020, that they're out of compliance. And during the audit of files for the City of Burnside and Bluegrass Oakwood were reviewed. Oversight inspection could not be conducted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, exhibit number 69. Energy Environmental Cabinet, Kentucky Division of Water, Somerset Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is an inspection on 9/17/2020. This is real important on page 2 of 9 on exhibit 69. It says, Has the CA, that means the wastewater treatment plant, permitted all industries using users as required? List the number of SUIs, NCIUS, and non-SUIs. Indicate if any of the IUs are operating under an expired permit. And their answer is 12 non-category SUIs, all operating under a current permit. Commercial businesses are also permitted. Describe describe the type of hauled waste that is accepted, the designated discharge location, and if manifested as being used. And it says, hauled waste permits are issued for the septic and grease trap haulers. Logs are maintained and wastewater is discharged in a wastewater sinking creek treatment facility. No mention of industrial waste. This is on there, no mention of it. This is page 2 of Exhibit 69. This is their inspection, and there's no mention of the Leachate or these other industrial waste permitted locations bringing stuff in. Is the control, on the same thing, Exhibit number 69, page 3. Is the control authority making information and data provided to the control authority available to the public without restriction? Describe the following. How confidential information is maintained, how the CA ensures public participation during ordinance, legal authority, and or local limits, how CA handles requests by the public to review files. And this is their answer. Locks filing cabinets, 2 public readings, standard FOIA open records process through the city attorney. Okay. Which their response is they've made no notice to the public. There has been no notice to the public about real notice, okay, to the public about these 4 landfills and how many gallons are being brought in. They have no documents to show that. They also have made no notice to the health department. So, that's not indicated here. Still Exhibit 69, page 5. Exhibit 69, page 5. Describe any permit violation. Did the CA investigate all instances of noncompliance with pretreatment standards? Surcharges were and this is the answer. Surcharges were levied for exceedances of conventional pollutants. That is not correct. That is what they've put down here in writing. And when I asked the state, I asked the city, I asked everybody, and their answers in writing is they've never been fined, no fines were levied, they've never been charged for anything. So, I don't know how somebody can put that in writing. Describe any enforcement action that was taken. And now this one says NA. That's accurate. There was never any enforcement action taken, which is kind of disturbing. Okay, now we're at Exhibit 70. Now we're in the January 2021. So started in 2016, now we're in January 2021. This is a Division of Water inspection report for Pittman Creek. On page 2 of Exhibit 70, page 2, it says, is this facility being properly operated and maintained as specified in Regulation 5:065? This includes proper orientation and maintenance of all facilities, system and treatment control, and related appurtenances which are installed or used by the permittee to achieve compliance with permit conditions. Proper operation maintenance also includes adequate laboratory controls and appropriate quality of procedures. And it goes into KRS statutes, this thing. It says compliance status. In this page 7, or Exhibit 70, page 2, it says, out of compliance violations documented. This facility is not being properly operated and maintained as required. That's what this inspection says in 2021. And yet they're bringing in industrial toxic waste from 4 landfills. It says the facility, high and low GPD followed January 2020, and the daily high influent was 4.184 GPD. August 2020, the daily lowest influent was 2.63 GPD. The facility design capacity is 4.4. Exhibit 70, page 3. Are the disinfection units maintained and operated properly to allow the compliance with the permit conditions? Answer, out of compliant, violation documented. This facility has failed to properly maintain or operate disinfection unit. They're not even properly disinfecting these units, yet they're bringing in this toxic waste. Okay, is the effluent requirement, is the effluent in compliance with KBIS permit limitation? Do the discharge monitoring reports permit violations? Once again, compliance status. D is out of compliance, violation documented. The facility has failed to comply with the effluent limitations contained in this permit. So they're violating their own permit, and they're not even telling anybody at this point because the state of Kentucky did not cough up one single document, and they told me they didn't know about this toxic waste coming in from 4 landfills, millions of gallons. These people are out of compliance, and they're bringing this in. At the bottom, page 3, Exhibit 70. Have pollutants entered the waters of the Commonwealth? This was the answer to status. No violations observed. Really? What is this? You've been giving them notices of violations since 2016. I didn't even go back. And yet, right here, no violations occurred. Are you kidding me? I don't know who wrote this, but somebody should have picked up on that at Frankfurt's level, and they didn't. And then, the very next month, that's, somebody's saying over here no violations occurred. Very next month, January 28, 2021. Now we're in January 28, 2021. Exhibit 71. Exhibit 71. For the year of 2020, the facility has reported 9 DMR excursions of pH, ammonia, BOD, DO, and E. coli. Right there, they're saying. So, a week or so before, they put in a box here, no violations, and then now, oh yeah, your violation. So thank you, Frankfurt, for being so consistent. Maybe that's why they feel they can get away with whatever they want, is because the fox is watching the chicken coop, I guess. Okay, now we're in February 2021. More notices of violation. Pittman Creek. Failing to comply. More total ammonia the nitrogen levels are off. pH levels are off. CBODs are off. Total ammonia nitrogen's off. CBODs off. And more threats of you're in violation, we can fine you, but we never do. Here we go. Now we're in May 2021. May of this year, 2021. Notice of violation, Pittman Creek. Still, failing to comply, monitoring point, E. coli. Okay, and look at these numbers. These numbers are significantly over. This is page 1, exhibit 73. Look at these numbers yourself. We have some insiders who are experts, who are confidential sources, look at this, and they just shake their head. I'm not an expert, but some experts have looked at this, and they're like, this is not good. And they're bringing in this toxic waste from landfills. Again, failing to comply, total ammonia nitrogen's off. Failure to comply, CBODs, failure to comply, total ammonia nitrogen's off, failing to comply, CBODs. Okay, more threats, blah, blah, blah. We're going to come and get you, but we never do. That's why you keep doing it. Okay, and now there's some pictures where they finally came in 2021, and that's when these pictures are taken. And you will be looking at these pictures right now. This is where they came and took pictures of the liners and stuff where they fixed the liners. Well, if that was all the problem, why are they still in violation? And no one from the state of Kentucky is asking that. They're just ignoring all of this, the appearances anyway. Okay, so May 10th, 2021, Pittman Creek, here we go again, failing to comply, E. coli. And these numbers are extremely high of what they're allowed. Failing to comply with ammonia nitrogen. Failing to comply ammonia nitrogen, CBODs. Failing to comply ammonia nitrogen, failing to comply CBODs. And it's the same thing over and over again. Now we're in 2021. Okay, so 6 years. So, needless to say, the governor gets wind that we're poking around. And the governor, who is the former attorney general, by the way, all of a sudden, on August 30th, 2021, this is exhibit number 75, our governor, Stephen Beshear, who again has been the governor for 2 years now, or almost 2 years, and was the attorney general for 4 years, he does a press conference, and this is what the press conference says. On Monday, the governor, Andrew Beshear, announced that Somerset will receive $3 million grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration, the EDA, to upgrade city infrastructure. Most of these will be used to upgrade the wastewater treatment facilities in an effort to create opportunities for new jobs. At no time does he tell the public. He has an opportunity here to say, and at this point, the state knows they're bringing it in. Because in May 2021, this year, May, I told them. Okay, we told them by open records request, we told them over the phone, we told them in emails. The governor's state EPA, the governor's state water district knows that Somerset is bringing in this toxic waste from 4 landfills. Now, perfect opportunity for this governor to do something other than throw money at these people. Perfect opportunity for this governor to come down on them, to order an investigation, to do something. And all he does is give them money. My question is, and the question for any of the residents who, by the way, their water bills are getting raised or have already gotten raised, where you been, Governor? Where you been? You were Attorney General. You've known this now. And if you don't know about this, you should be raising holy, you know what. The fact that this has gone on, and, in your waste, your Kentucky Division of Water has either kept that from you, or And now this is the best you can do, is you don't talk about it, you don't do no notice to the public, no of the real problem, no notice to the health department. It's just, oh, they have there's a little bit of problem here, and we're going to give them some money. And you don't even say there's a problem here. You're just giving money to the waste treatment plant. Again, the question is, Governor Beshear, where you been? And now what are you going to do? Okay, now we're in exhibit number 76. Exhibit number 76. This exhibit is dated September 29th, 2021. September 29th, 2021. I sent an open records request to the Lake Cumberland District Health Department. You were looking at this open records request from Truth or Politics. I give the whole background. I give the background of the meeting with the city attorney, about what documents we had. I sent them what you just saw to the Lake Cumberland Health Department, and then I asked them, based on, and I told them about, Governor Beshear and his $3 million. Then I asked them, please provide any of all records of any type of notice to the Lake Cumberland District Health Department or the State of Kentucky's Department of Public Health from Kentucky State Water District, the Kentucky EPA, or the City of Somerset regarding the attached notice of violations to the Somerset Waste Treatment Facility. This includes the years 2016 through current. Their answer back, as you'll see here in a minute, is they have no documents. So in other words, nobody notified the health department. Now, problem with that is you got a plant that's defective. It's in violation for 2016. Wouldn't you think somebody, before you made the decision to go and bring in industrial waste from 4 landfills, somebody might have had, a McFly moment. Hello, McFly. Picked up the phone and called the health department. Is this a good idea? Should we bring in this stuff from 4 different landfills, and this other stuff from these businesses too? Because I just got a sneaking feeling that the health department would say, what? I would hope that the health department would say, are you on drugs? Or no, this is not a good idea. And the health department was never notified of all these violations. Then I ask, please provide in all records any type of notice to the Lake Cumberland District Health Department and the State of Kentucky Department of Public Health from the Kentucky Water Division or the Kentucky EPA or the City of Somerset regarding the 2018 hexavalent chromium notice. Again, the answer back from the health department is, we have no records for this. Then I ask, this is I think part of the scariest part of all. Please provide any and all records of any type of notice to the citizens of Somerset, Pulaski County from Lake Cumberland District Health Department, Kentucky State Water District, the Kentucky EPA, and or the City of Somerset regarding the attached notices of violation to the Somerset Waste Treatment Facility. Includes the years from 2016 to current. Their answer back was, no, they have no knowledge and no documents that anybody ever notified the public of any of these violations. Then I asked, please provide any and all records of any type of notice to the citizens of Pulaski County, Lake Cumberland District Health Department, Kentucky Division of Water, the Kentucky EPA, or the City of Somerset regarding the hexavalent chromium notice. Answer back again, they have no documents, no notice. Okay, please provide any and all records of water testing or request for water testing for drinking/tap water that comes from the outtake facility located at or near the Waitsboro boat ramp and campground. I asked them, have you been testing the water here? And the answer was, no, they have no documents. No one's asked them to test the water. I find that scary, quite frankly. I think the health department, one would reasonably conclude that that might be a part of their job. Okay, so one of the things that I made very clear to the state of Kentucky, and over again, I've asked them about, different things. Here is another email I sent to this is Jessica Sutton. She's the records custodian. Thank you so much. You have been very cooperative, and they did. I got to say, the state of Kentucky, as far as I can see, and the state EPA When I hit them with open records request, they coughed up documents. They did do that in a reasonably, timely manner. I can't say the same for the city of Somerset. Thank you so much. Yes, you've been cooperative and you may have more time. She asked for more time to get more documents because I hit them with more document requests. Really interested in the records reflecting landfill leachate that they are adding to the treatment plant and making $300,000 a year. Also super important if any fines levied against them. Thank you for your cooperation. That's where I sent them an email. And then she says that the request is under review and they hope to get it back quick. Okay, so their answer back was they had no documents, and we'll get to the answers here in a minute. Then on October 20th, 2021, I sent another open records request to the City of Somerset Waste Treatment Division. I went through the whole thing. I went through the whole thing about the meeting with John Adams. It was very clear. I talk about leachate from landfill. This is Exhibit 79. Go to page 2. You're going to see bold letters. Leachate from landfills. Leachate from landfills. Leachate hexavalent chromium. I'm asking, what about the fluorocarbons? Based on the foregoing, here's what I'm asking for. And it's clear what I'm asking for. This is Exhibit 79 down on the last page. Excuse me. Based on the foregoing, I am requesting the following records. Please provide any and all analysis for hexavalent chromium and PFOAs, known as C8, or fluorocarbonated chemicals, completed by the City of Somerset Wastewater Division from 2017 to current. The answers back was, they sent us their testing. No one is testing for this. These are the forever chemicals that I talked about that's notoriously in these landfills, okay? Please provide any of the analysis for leachate by the City of Somerset Wastewater Division regarding the leachate that is being delivered to the City of Somerset Waste Treatment Plants from any and all landfills. Please provide any and all approvals or permits you have on record for leachate from local landfills, at least 2 thus far. Later we knew it was 4 because they weren't coughing it up. Okay, City of Somerset was not coughing up these documents as late as October here. Now being accepted by the City of Somerset. I hit him with the hexavalent chromium question. Please provide any and all records of any type of notice to the citizens of Pulaski County from the City of Somerset Wastewater Division regarding the attached notice of violation given to the Somerset Waste Treatment Facility. No notices, except for the one little notice in one buried in one meeting where Keck says we got some violations and we're bringing in leachate. Doesn't say where it's coming from, doesn't say what it is. That's not real notice. Please provide all records of any type of notice to the citizens of Pulaski County from the City of Somerset Wastewater Treatment Division regarding the hexavalent chromium notice. And the answer back was the documents they sent us showed no notices and also showed they're not testing. Okay. And here, Exhibit 80, you're going to see, again, the June and July open records request. I stuck those in again. That's Exhibit 80 and Exhibit 81. And one of them in June 9th. Far back as June 9th, actually in May, I asked John Adams for records. And we had a meeting and he coughed up about this much records. None of these records contain anything about this leachate from landfills. In fact, he denied knowing anything about it. He would have to research it. Okay? So, there's that. You can see where they got it and it was sent. Okay, now, I'm going to get into these emails back and forth between the city attorney of Somerset and John Adams and myself. This is starting in Exhibit 83. The reason I'm going to get into this is for anybody who's a public official out there, when you get hit with an open records request, this is not how to do it. This is not how to respond. To just jerk someone around for months, and I hate to use that terminology, but that's pretty much what happened. First, it was several weeks. He demanded that we have a meeting. By the way, there's no requirement for anybody to have a meeting with you for you to turn over documents. That's not a requirement anywhere. Show me the KRS statute, okay? But he required that. We were being cordial. We were trying to start on the right foot, so we met with him. In this meeting, he denied knowing anything about Leachate. And keep in mind, he had received, our first one in May, our first open records request. So he had several weeks to do research or to find this stuff out. And oh, by the way, we found out later that he was on the city council prior to being the city attorney. So he knew or he should have known. He knew or he should have known what they were bringing in. Because all these contracts, one would think that the city attorney was reviewing. So also in this meeting, one of the comments he made is, he asked us what we were going to do with this because he knew that we knew about the violations. At first he says, well, we're in compliant now. And I'm like, no, you're not. All the way up to May 2021, you're not in compliant. You are not in compliant. You're being issued violations. Once he knew that we had this and the cat was out of the bag, then his reaction was, we're going to be collateral damage, like trying to blame me for doing my job, okay? And when I asked him, I said, well, okay, what would you have us do? He just kind of looked at us, because I didn't like the implication of how this was going. But anyways, just not good, So I'm going to get into these emails going back and forth. If you can see Exhibit 83, June 18th, 2021. Right up front, where he says he's on vacation, he's on vacation, he can't get back to us. So I respond, okay, I'm being cordial, June 18th, 2021. Okay, well, just get him when you can, hurry up. Then he says, may we set a date to review the documents and request the ORR. Okay, again, not a requirement. He's required to turn over the documents, which he did not. He did not turn over anything about Leachate. Okay. Then on Exhibit 86, June 24th, 2021, he says, yes, I just spoke to Dana Whitus. I am in the process of getting the file. Okay, and then when we sat down with him with the file, and I was clear over and over again, we want to know about these leachate from the landfills. And when we sat down in the meeting, asked him about the landfills, he turned over no documents. Okay, so June 25th, 2021, I talked to him again. Emails, these are emails going back and forth. Now we're on August 19th, 2021. Mr. Adams, this is me talking to him. How are you coming with the records in my last request? It was successfully faxed to you on July 9th. Please respond with an ETA for these records. As always, your cooperation is still appreciated. At this point, I've asked him for permits. I've asked him any and all records regarding this treatment plant and leachate. His response back was on August 23rd. This is Exhibit 89. Sorry, I meant to email you Friday. I have some records for you to review. We'll get back with you shortly. Okay? Well, shortly is, now we're in September 7th, 2021. I tell him, thank you, no problem, or I can come and get copies. Okay, September 7th. He says, I apologize again. We did get approval for $3 million grant for the capital improvements. I think the announcement was made public. Okay? That has nothing to do with my specific questions, my specific records that I'm asking for regarding this leachate and permits. And yet, no documents are being provided. Finally, September 7th, he says, I just saw this email. I apologize. I'll send you the records today. Okay, so he sends some bids in, and for the lining. It's like, that's not what I'm asking for. I mean, that's nice. I want to know about the lining, but that's not what I'm asking for. So on September 9th, here's what I send him back. Mr. Adams, in my last open records request, I specifically asked for records concerning the $300,000 referred to in the public meeting and also covered by the local Somerset newspaper. You also confirmed this in our last meeting that the City of Somerset was receiving leachate from the landfills and making $300,000 a year for this. He did confirm that in our meeting. You have submitted no records regarding this, even though I have essentially asked for them on two separate ORRs, generally in the first ORR and specifically in the second ORR. There are a few emails that you have sent me that I cannot open. However, I don't believe they have anything to do with landfill runoff. Please advise if you are going to provide these records or give legal status you are relying on to refuse to turn over these records. If you are going to provide these records, please give a date certain for these records. Your continued cooperation is appreciated. So here we are in September, started in May. He's still not confident these documents, even though we've met and everything else. He knows we want these documents on this landfill. Now, if you're not trying to hide something, if there's nothing wrong, even if there was nothing to see here, if there was nothing wrong, that's how to bring attention to yourself. This is how not to handle an open records request. This is how to get a trained investigator like me to raise their eyebrow and put a crosshairs on you and think there's something here, because you sure as heck are dancing around this at the very least. So for you public officials out there, when you're handling an open records request, this is how not to do it. Okay, so what do? I'm concerned because of what I see going on. So I sent a letter to the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, on September 28th. I lay out the whole background to this. I lay out what the state EPA and the state water district has already given me, all of these violations, and the fact that this treatment plant is bringing in leachate from 4 different landfills, plus industrial landfills, plus all these other industries, industrial industries, and they're not cooperating, or the appearance is they're not cooperating. So, Attorney General Daniel Cameron, thank you so much, because as soon as he got involved and assigned somebody to this, this is exhibit number 95. Exhibit number 95 you're looking at, the letter I sent to Daniel Cameron. All of a sudden, the records start flowing. And what does that look like? Even if you don't mean it to look that way, that doesn't look good, that you sandbag, or the appearance of sandbagging for all these months, and then the minute the Attorney General's office gets involved. And this is what really kind of irked me. It's very clear what I've been asking for since May. It was very clear in June in a meeting when myself and Somerset, another individual with Pulaski County Truth or Politics, sat right across the table from John Adams, City Attorney, and we told him what we wanted. We want all the records on this landfill leachate. This is John Adams' answer back to the Attorney General's office. This is his answer back. I have read Mrs. Price's request for assistance. I'm not sure what she's seeking. I believe it's any records pertaining to the acceptance of leachate and a question mark. If that's correct, please confirm, and I will have any records pertaining this leachate accepted of the leachate. Really? So you're going to pretend to the Attorney General that you don't know what I'm talking about in this email. And that's just not cool. You knew exactly what we were talking about in May, you knew it in June, and now you're trying to, this just doesn't look good. Again, for you public officials out there, this is not the way to handle an open records request, okay? Okay, so, that just wasn't cool. Okay, so then he coughs up a few documents. So then I have to go after him again. October 26th, here we go. Here's me to Mr. Adams. Do you have any documents that clearly demonstrate either a weekly amount or gallons of leachate from both files, or a monthly amount, gallons that are being delivered to your facility? The documents you sent me don't really give any type of total amounts either per week or month. I have confidential sources that are telling me that you are receiving 8,000 gallons per day, 5 days a week, just from one landfill. I'm trying to get an accurate amount of just how much leachate per week is going to your facility. It is also my understanding that the 2 landfills that you have identified, Scott County and Laurel, are not the only landfills you are receiving leachate from. Can you clarify this with any records? So all the way up to now, they're still trying to hide or not notifying or not coughing up records about the fact that there's 4 landfills. So that was exhibit 97. Now, I could not have been more clear of what I'm asking for in this email. This was his answers back. This is exhibit number 98. Exhibit number 98. Leachate billings, Miss Price. And this is, now we're in November. Started in May trying to get these records from this guy. Now we're in November 1st, 2021. In regards to your 1029 email, here's my reply. However, I've asked, this is my thing to him, however, I've asked for these documents about leachate from landfills. His answer is, please, however, I've asked for these documents, 2018 to current, all landfill leachate. I do not believe that Somerset processed leachate prior to 2019, so he answered that. Please provide any all testing for landfill leachate, all landfills 2018 to current that your system is receiving. Also, you provided 2019 to 2020 sludge leachate total from only Laurel landfill, and my understanding is I have some documents that demonstrate this, that you are also getting leachate from Scott County, Tennessee. And his answer is, I will look into it. Still, it's my understanding that we have produced all invoices. So, as late as November 1st, 2021, he's going to look into it about Scott County, Tennessee. He still is not coughing up that they're receiving these landfill leachate from 2 places in Tennessee. November 1st, he's going to look into it. And he, as far as he knows, he's produced all the invoices. Well, no, he hasn't. And then again, please provide this in my question. Please provide any all testing of sludge, leachate, blah, 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 blah. This is his answer back. I will look into it. Still, it's my understanding they produced it all testing that we have. No, you haven't. Then I asked, please produce all the industrial use permits that are required. This is his answer. I am vaguely familiar with industrial use permits from my past practice. That applies to producers, but I still do not know if the requirement does apply to our sewer plant. So, in November 1st, we started this in May. This city attorney, he's interjected himself into this records request procedure. He's saying, I don't know if we're even required to have anything like that. So he don't know what kind of requirement it is, what kind of permits they're supposed to have. And yet, just above, he says, I've turned over all the permits. Well, no, you haven't. If you've turned them all over, then why are you saying, I don't know what kind of permit we have? I mean, just read this for yourself, Exhibit 98, and maybe I'm wrong, but it does all look good. Okay, the city clerk gave me a hard copy of your October 20, 2021 last week. Not sure if you have received formal reply. I tried to call. Let's set up another meeting with Dana where we can assess what records you have and what else we have. I worry that you have an expectation of records that we do not have. Well, you should have a copy of your own permit. You should have a copy of every permit of anybody bringing waste into your treatment plant. You should have coughed that up before November 1st, and now you're still looking for it. I don't know what to say to that. I just don't. Now we're in Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. Dear Ms. Price, this is again from City Attorney John Adams. I would like to update the record on this appeal. November 4th, you met with Somerset Waste Treatment Water Manager Dana White since she produced documents for you. Subsequently, she copied documents for you. She has forwarded these emails of the Kentucky Division of Water and multiple testing requirement topics. So we could conclude the matter. Would you please reply with a list of remaining requirements? And I did that. Again. Please provide a breakdown of the gallons of leachate. This is Exhibit 99. I am for the second, third, or fourth time telling them what I want. And which started in a meeting in May. We were clear what we want. We said any and all records about leachate from landfills. That means any and all records. And here we are, November 16th. I'm having to say it again. Please provide a breakdown. How many gallons from leachate from landfills? Please provide metals testing of the effluent. We want to know, are you testing for the toxic stuff that comes from these landfills? Are you testing for it? Please provide any all records demonstrating total ether money at landfill, how much the city and how much money the city of Somerset has raised. Okay, that's once again, we're in November 16th. I'm asking him again for the records. Okay, so now what happens is we finally get a meeting with the head of the waste treatment plant, the person who should know what is going on with that plant, should have access to all these records, and should have, this is just my opinion, been brought into the loop in early May. Her reaction was that she wasn't. And I kind of felt sorry for her because, this city attorney inserted himself and, quite frankly, did what he did. So she sat down with us, and in this meeting, it was it was very concerning how this meeting went. I felt really bad for her in a lot of ways. Several times she cried, and she did have a death in the family a few months before, so I'm trying to be understanding about that. When I asked her, did she understand what these landfills, and that these were industrial landfills and what's in them, and I asked her about C8, these fluorocarbons, PFOAs. Her answer back was she did not understand what this was. Now, you're running a waste treatment plant. You're bringing in this stuff, and you signed off on it, and you don't know for sure what's being brought in. Perhaps that's why you should have gone to the health department first and said, this is what we're planning to do, and the health department should know about all of these violations. That concerned me. What also concerned me is, she asked me, she goes, well, what are we supposed to do? This is how we were going to fix it. In other words, by bringing in industrial waste from 4 landfills, she indicated that that's how they were going to fix the waste treatment plant. They were going to take the money that they were going to make from bringing in this waste from these landfills to this defective plant and then fix the plant afterwards. That's what she said. She goes, but that's how we were going to fix it. She said, what were we supposed to do? And, my answer was, stop bringing the stuff in. A real good analogy to this is, I'm an 18-wheeler long hauler truck driver. My brakes are going out, but I can't afford to fix my brakes. But I'm going to make a long haul with this 18-wheeler on I-40 all the way to California. And, hopefully I'll get there okay and won't wreck and kill somebody. But once I do that, I can pay to fix my brakes. That is an analogy to what's going on here. You're getting all this money to fix something, and in the process, whatever you're bringing in is probably, there's a real good chance that it's going right into Lake Cumberland. And how do we know that? Well, nobody's testing. No, none of their tests show that they're testing for the stuff, C6, C4, C8, hexafluoride. They're not testing for it. Neither is the state of Kentucky. I just found that very concerning. And one of the things she said that also disturbed me, she said, well, this is going to destroy the city of Somerset. And it's like, because you got caught? This is going to destroy, because of tourism? Well, why didn't you ask that or somebody before you started bringing this stuff in? Where was this concern first? I just found that meeting, very concerning, jaw-dropping, quite frankly, that this meeting went this way. And again, I felt sorry for her. She cried several times, and I understand she had a death in the family, and I felt bad about that. But somebody should have been asking these questions before you brought this stuff in. I specifically asked her, whose idea was this to do this? She just paused and looked at one of the guys sitting there. I think he was one of the engineers, Tim Anderson, and would not answer that question. And then I said, who did this? Who came up with this idea? She wouldn't answer it. Then she finally said, well, I signed off on it. Okay, so that's where we're at with that. Okay, so Exhibit 100, they're agreeing. Now it was November 17th when they finally say, yes, we have it on a thumb drive. So we're all the way in the November 17th. From May 9th to November 17th, I'm finally getting the answers I've been looking for the gallons per month, where they're bringing it in. It took that long. And here it is. Please look at Exhibit 102. Sludge Leachate monthly total gallons. Exhibit 102. And here's where the first time they cough up, late November, all 4 landfills. And 2 of them are in Tennessee. And here's the 4. Volunteer Regional, Laurel Ridge, Meadow Branch, and Tri-K. And pages and pages. And it starts on December 2019. So they started in 2019. And the breakdown per month of how many thousands of gallons of this leachate from this industrial waste landfills that they're bringing in, 4 landfills, all the way up to the last page in November 2021. This just a month or so ago, okay? And the total is, and this is in November, so since then they brought in more. And even though we had a meeting in November about, she knows the cat's out of the bag, she knows, and I said, stop bringing this stuff in, as of today when we're filming, they're still bringing it in. The overall total as of November is 22,457,038 gallons. And they have made $740,000, $91.41 is what it looks like. So $740,000 or 41, rounded up. By now it's probably around $800,000. I'm going to guesstimate that by now in December, we're right before Christmas, the week before Christmas, they have obviously brought in 23 million gallons of the sludge, obviously by now. And again, I'm ballparking, but I'm probably pretty close. And made right around $800,000. And the question is, was it worth it? Was it worth it? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Exhibit 103. Now, when we talked about these landfills, I asked her, do you know what's in these landfills? She didn't really answer. Well, here's what's in these landfills. Exhibit 103, Meadow Branch Landfill. Exhibit 103. This is one of the ones in Tennessee. It says, this site, this is right from their website. Right from their website. This site accepts municipal solid waste, construction, demolition waste, special waste with a proper approval. Municipal solid waste, industrial waste, special waste includes asbestos and non-hazardous contaminated soils, as well as transportation disposal services, construction and demolition waste, including transportation of large demolition projects using walking floor trailers, scrap tire haulers, and processing. Folks, that's some of the most toxic of toxic stuff in a landfill. Industrial demolition stuff. I'm not an expert, but Google it yourself, and it ain't good to bring in leachate coming from one of these landfills, and there's 4 of them, industrial stank plant, and putting it through a defective system. Where on God's green earth was that a good idea? I don't know. Okay, Volunteer Regional Landfill. Volunteer Regional, another one in Tennessee, Department of Environmental Conservation. This one is located 3 miles north of the business district of the city of Oneida, Tennessee. And the landfill interest is located on Bear Creek Road. This site accepts municipal solid waste, construction demolition waste, and special waste with proper approval. Again, asbestos, transportation disposal services, demolition waste, including transportation of large demolition projects, scrap tire hauling, and processing. Again, more industrial toxic waste. Exhibit 105, Tri-K Landfill. This is out of Stanford, Kentucky. This is the 3rd landfill to bring in leachate from. It says access, again, right off of their website. This one's out of Stanford, Kentucky. Acceptable waste. Asbestos, construction and demolition, contaminated soil, dry industrial, municipal solid waste, sludge, special waste, tires, tractor tires, truck tires, auto tires, yard waste. Again, this is industrial waste. They are permitted to handle industrial waste. Laurel Ridge Landfill. Laurel Ridge Landfill is in Kentucky. I'm trying to see where it's from. I think it's over in London. Laurel Landfill, Highway 552, Lilly, Kentucky. This is the 4th landfill that they're bringing stuff in. Exhibit 106, Laurel Ridge Landfill out of Lilly, Kentucky. And guess what this brings in? This is what they accept. And then the leachate from this landfill goes to the Somerset Wastewater Treatment Plant. Industrial waste, special waste, including asbestos, contaminated soils, demolition waste, including transportation of large demolition projects using tractor-trailer appliances. These large demolition sites have some of the most toxic stuff going. Okay. And I think I've already covered this, but again, the EPA, this is Exhibit 107. It goes into what is in these demolition and construction for industrial and construction and demolition landfills. These landfills, and if you'll look at Exhibit 107, are highly regulated by the EPA, as are the leachate. And they have to have special permits to handle this industrial waste. And it says right on the EPA's, their page here, it says, and again, Exhibit 107, other types of C&D materials can include the following. This is what is normally in these industrial landfills: concrete, wood, asphalt, gypsum, metals, bricks, glass, asbestos, salvage building components, doors, windows, plumbing fixtures, trees, stumps, earth, rock from clearing sites, polyene chlorine biphenyls, manufacturing processes, distribution. These are all the second page of this one, again, Exhibit 107. It goes into all of what's in these things and how it's controlled, and it's not good. And this is the EPA site. Title 40. The EPA also lists here's a title under Title 40, 401.15 toxic pollutants. The following comprise the list of the most toxic pollutants designated pursuant to Section 307 of this Act. And guess what is listed in this toxic pollutants? These are the most concerning toxic pollutants by the EPA. This is from the EPA's website. Asbestos, which is found in landfills. Cadmium compounds, again. Carbon tetrachloride, CC14. Chlorinated ethans. Chromium and compounds. Remember me reading all those off, what's found in these landfills. Copper and components. Fluorethene. Dichlorobenzamine. Hexachlorophadidine. Methylene chloride, lead and compounds, mercury and compounds, selenium and compounds, silver compounds, tetrachlorobenzeno dioxins, tetrachloroethylene, trichloroethylene, vinyl chloride, zinc and compounds, just to name a few. That's what is normally in these, these type of large landfills. EPA priority pollutant list. This is the EPA's #1 priority pollutant list. 40 CFR Part 423 Appendix A. These are not only pollutants regulated in the Clean Water Act program. These are regulated. This list is an important starting point for the EPA to consider. Carbon tetrachloride, hexachlorobenzene, it goes on. This is Exhibit 109. Diachlorobenzene, fluorine, tetrachloroethylene, trichloroethylene, vinyl chloride, alpha endosulfide, PCB. These are all the PCB 1242, 1254. It goes all through the PCBs. Again, this is Exhibit 109. Asbestos, chromium, lead, mercury, silver, zinc. All of the stuff that is normally found in industrial waste landfills. Okay? So, and September 29th, I've already covered that. We'll skip Exhibit 110 because I've already gone through this. Okay, Here's the answer back. Exhibit 111. Remember, I sent an open records request to the Lake Cumberland District Health Department asking them, did anybody notify you of any of this? Any of these landfill stuff? Any of this industrial waste? Did anybody notify you of all the violations of this Somerset Waste Treatment Plant? And did anybody notify you, do you have any records showing that anybody notified the public of this? This is the response. Miss Price. This is October 4th, 2021. In regards to your open records request dated September 29th, 2021, the Lake Cumberland District Health Department does not have on file any notice of violation to the Somerset Wastewater from the Kentucky Division of Water. The Lake Cumberland District Health Department does not possess any records relating to the testing of Lake Cumberland and the vicinity of Lake Cumberland Resort at Keno. So, there you go. Okay. That was Exhibit 111. Exhibit 111. Exhibit 112. This is from Dana Robertson regarding the PFOAs. I had asked, are you guys testing? Is anybody testing for these PFOAs? This is C6 through C8. This is the most carcinogenic stuff. It is what we described at the beginning of this show, of this news program. These are forever, they're called forever carbons. They don't break down. They're horrible. And this is her answer back to Dana Whitus. Again, this is from Diana Robertson from the State Water District, Pre-Treatment Coordinator, Kentucky Division of Water. Dana, as a follow-up to an earlier conversation, there are currently no federal or state wastewater treatment standards or limits for PFOAs, C8, PFOs, and PFAs. As a result, wastewater treatment plants in Kentucky are not routinely sampling for those parameters. I wouldn't expect to see sampling of industrial user discharge for these parameters either, as there are no applicable limits. That is just simply incorrect. I've already covered that. The EPA has set applicable limits. It is part per trillions. This was done when DuPont basically poisoned almost all the waters in West Virginia. DuPont was fined, record fines, for putting PFOA C8 into the waters via their plants in West Virginia. The EPA fined them. They set parameters. The parameters were set by DuPont themselves when they were allowed to regulate themselves. So there are parameters. The EPA does regulate them. And why on earth the state of Kentucky Water District, knowing this, because look again, when this is dated, they know now in November 10th, 2021, this is Exhibit 112, November 10th, 2021, in this email, they know that this Somerset Waste Treatment Plant is defective and is bringing this leachate from these landfills and this industrial waste from these businesses, which I'm about to go into. They know that, and they're still saying they're not going to test. To me, that's jaw-dropping. That's just jaw-dropping. That nobody's testing, nobody's going to test, the citizens of Pulaski County and anybody who's ever swam or in that water should be enraged at this. Okay, here's some more pictures of the plant, and these are 113. That's what you're looking at right now. Okay, now, if you think things are not bad enough, and we haven't shown you enough, things are about to get worse. And I'm laughing to keep from crying. What we found out, when the city of Somerset coughed up these documents, and Dana Whitus gave them to me, I think, in late November. Keep in mind, we started this in May. They finally came up with more. Apparently, not only are they bringing in industrial waste from 4 landfills, but they are also bringing in industrial waste from huge businesses in Pulaski County and putting it through the system. Here we go. Exhibit number 114. Somerset. Signed by, at the top of the page, you'll see Alan Keck, Mayor, Dana White's Waste Treatment Plant. This is a permit, a conditional waste discharge permit to AHF Products, which I'm not sure what that does, but it is an industrial waste permit for them to bring in, to handle industrial waste. Now, they have a permit. The City of Somerset Waste Treatment Plant does not have an industrial waste permit. Why? No one's answered that yet, other than we don't have to. Okay. In this permit, I want you to go to page 4 of this permit. Again, Exhibit 114, page 4, because this is interesting. Part of the penalties and violations set for this company is the Somerset sewer use. It says that if they violate their permit, they have to pay $1,000 per day for such violation. And criminal prosecutions may be provided. So if they violate their permit, they can be fined $1,000 a day in criminal prosecutions. Whereas the City of Somerset Waste Treatment Plant has been issued numerous violations since 2016 and never paid a fine. This is also in this wastewater discharge standards. This is what it says, 40 CFR 403-5. Remember she said there's no standard set? They quote a standard right here in this permit. And it says, 40 CFR Part 403-5. Any waste or wastewater classifies as hazardous waste, and it's bolded, by the way, by the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, RCRA, without a 60-day prior notification of such discharge to the pretreatment coordinator. This notification must include the name of the hazardous waste, the EPA hazardous waste number, type of discharge, volume of mass. So in other words, if this business has any kind of discharge of this waste, they have to do all these things. Notify the public, notify the EPA, have the amounts, treatment. This is what they have to do. Yet the City of Somerset Waste Treatment Plant that's handling all these industrial waste permittees has done virtually none of this. Okay. Next page, page 5, still on 114. It says, by the city, the facility shall notify Somerset Wastewater Department immediately of all accidental sludge or discharges and bypass to the sanitary sewer system. Initial notifications may be made by... So, City of Somerset's requiring the business that's bringing in this stuff to the City of Somerset, but if they have an accident, you got to notify everybody in writing and how much. Yet we have discharge after discharge where the City of Somerset has discharged into Pittman Creek, Seacon Creek on several occasions, and no notification to the health department, no notification to the public. And then number 3, pay very close attention here. Number 3, the Somerset Wastewater Department is required by the federal regulations to keep the public advised of all cases of significant violations and must publish the names of the users violated pretreatment standards during the previous 12 months of operation. There you go. If that's and it's signed by Dana White. Let me read that again. This is the City of Somerset telling an industrial permit that's bringing their stuff into the City of Somerset, and I quote, I want to read it again. The Somerset Wastewater Department is required by the federal regulations to keep public advised of all significant violations. Yet, they have not produced, nor the state of Kentucky, nor the state EPA, nor the health department, nor the City of Somerset, and all these violations, no notice to the public. Well, except for when Keck breezed over and said, oh, we've had some violations and we're going to bring in Leachate. That's not notice. That's not adequate notice, in my humble opinion. And you're supposed to all notice this. It says right here, they're quoting it, all violations. That's not happening. Okay, exhibit number 115, wastewater contribution permit. This one is going to Armstrong Hardwood. Okay, again, Armstrong Hardwood is an industrial waste discharge permit. It even lists on their permit what they have, what they're permitted to have waste, and then this waste is going through the defective wastewater treatment plant in Somerset. It says lead. There's a bunch of them. Here it is, Exhibit 115, page 7. I'm just going to read a couple of these off. There's the whole pages of the stuff. Lead, just the worst stuff. Oil and grease, arsenic, cadmium, chromium, chromium hexavalent, copper, lead, iron, mercury, molybdenum, selenium. It goes on and on. Ammonia, nitrogen, total suspended solids. That's what they're allowed to have, and that's what they're permitted for, and they have an industrial permit, and the city of Somerset does not have an industrial waste permit, and they're accepting this stuff. Okay. Also, we have bluegrass oakwood. Again, exhibit number 116. At the top of the page, Alan Keck, Mayor, Dana Whitus. Industrial waste discharge permit. The bluegrass oakwood has an industrial permit. They are taking their waste through the city of Somerset's defective waste treatment plant. What are they permitted for? Here we go. Many of the same things. Fluorine, phenols, phosphates, oil and grease, arsenic, cadmium, chromium hexavalent. Let me repeat. Chromium hexavalent, chromium. That's the Aaron Brockovich case. C6. Chromium, C8. This stuff is, they call it forever chemicals. They don't break down. Cadmium, lead, mercury, molybdenum, silver, suspended solids, ammonia, nitrogen. Anyway, that's what they're permitted to. That's on their permit. Okay, we also have Lake Cumberland Cancer Center. They have an industrial waste permit. Their permit, and then they are taking their waste. They have contracted with the city of Somerset to bring their waste through the city of Somerset's defective treatment plant. And it says, this permit will become effective July 1st, 2021, and shall remain effective. So this is after they know they're in violation. These permits are all, when these updated permits are when the city of Somerset knows they're in violation. They know they're in all these violations. They know that their system isn't working, and they're still accepting this industrial waste from these facilities and for landfills. And what do we have in this landfill or this facility? Here we go. Oil and grease, BODs, arsenic, cadmium, chromium hexavalent, iron, lead, mercury, molybdenum, silver, ammonia, nitrogen, biological oxygen demand, total suspended solids, chemical oxygen demand. I mean, what you would expect from a cancer center. Okay, they're also accepting via a permit and from an industrial waste discharge permit from Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital. Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital has contracted with the city of Somerset and their defective plant to run their waste through it. And at this point, they know that their plant is in violation. What do they have in theirs? Same thing. Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital. Same thing. NHA, oil, grease, silver, arsenic, cadmium, chromium hexavalent, iron, lead, mercury, nickel, selenium, ammonia, nitrogen, total suspended solids, biological oxygen. Okay. They're also bringing in from Lake Cumberland Regional Hospital Medical Arts Building. Another industrial waste permit. Yet another industrial waste permit from another business that's bringing their industrial waste through a system that has been proven to be defective, in violation, and does not have an industrial waste permit. And what do they have in their thing? Their business? Again, this is Exhibit 122. Arsenic, cadmium, chromium hexavalent, clydine, copper, mercury, lead, molybdenum, selenium, silver, zinc, same stuff. Minzer Hardwares. Here we go again. Another industrial business. Industrial waste permit. Lead, zinc, oil and grease, arsenic, cadmium, chromium, chromium hexavalent, copper, all the same stuff, lead, mercury, all the same scary stuff. So, this is what the documents speak for themselves, pretty much. I want to go back to the November 2021 meeting that Dan Gibson with Truth or Politics, Pulaski County, we had with the director of Somerset Wastewater Treatment Plant, Dana Whitus. At this meeting, Dan asked a very, very important question. He asked Ms. Whitus, and I quote, "What did you do, if anything, to the plant before you started bringing in this leachate?" Her answer was, "Nothing." Dan reiterated the question, "So you made no changes before you brought in this leachate?" Her answer was, "No." To me, this is a very important admission that they knew their treatment plant was defective and yet they made no changes, no improvements, and before they began to bring in this leachate from 4 industrial waste landfills. Let's go back to Exhibit 112, that's Exhibit 112. The email between Diana Robertson, the pre-treatment coordinator for the State of Kentucky Water Division. And this email says, and I quote, "As a follow-up to an earlier conversation, there are currently no federal or state wastewater standards or limits for PFOAs, that's C8, PFOs, or PFAs. As a result, wastewater treatment plants in Kentucky are not routinely sampling for these parameters. I wouldn't expect to see sampling of industrial users' discharges for those parameters either, as there are no applicable limits." What that means is the whole state of Kentucky, no one's checking this, according to the State of Kentucky Wastewater Treatment Coordinator. No one's checking these forever chemicals. No one's testing for them. First of all, there are standards and limits for PFOAs, C8, PFOs, and PFAs. These standards were set by DuPont. DuPont paid out over $4 billion in settlement agreements regarding this very thing. In these lawsuits, the federal courts or the courts ruled that there were limits, and those limits were set by DuPont themselves. And that limit is 70 parts per trillion, trillion with a T. This is the equivalent to 7 grains of sand in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Anything more has been deemed unsafe. I suggest that Ms. Robertson and the state of Kentucky should have already engaged in some serious research regarding this lethal issue. The City of Somerset Wastewater Treatment Plant alone has introduced at least 25 million gallons of industrial waste leachate from these 4 landfills, not to mention the thousands of gallons of industrial waste from the local businesses that send their industrial waste to this plant. While the state of Kentucky's water district may refuse to test Pittman Creek and or the effluent from the Somerset treatment plant for these forever chemicals, or for any other plant in the state of Kentucky for that matter, the question is, who's watching out for the innocent humans and wildlife that depends on this crucial lake and river? What's it going to take? Does the state of Kentucky require a specific law directing them or ordering them to choose to protect the citizens and the wildlife of Kentucky, as well as the millions of tourists that swim, fish, and boogie board, water ski, and get their drinking water from this lake and river? Do you have to be told to protect us? What does the state of Kentucky Water District have against Bambi and other wildlife? Let us remember, we the taxpayers pay for the Kentucky Division of Water to have an office in Frankfort and personnel to do this very thing, to protect us. We are also charged additionally for the water that is taken from this lake and from this river for our personal and business uses. If you're not going to protect us by simple testing, then why do we need your office? Well, here's how we're going to relate this question. We, Truth or Politics, we're going to send all of this evidence that we've shown you in this special news report to the Federal Environmental Protection Agency along with this report. And rest assured, we will be following up on this report and future reports And we'll follow up with any responses that we can get from these bureaucracies if they will respond to our initial letter that we read at the beginning of this news segment. At this point, I want to thank everybody behind the scene that did a whole lot of work putting together this special news report. I want to thank Dan and Barb Gibson. I want to thank the people behind the scenes, Michael Mann, Everything Technical. Also, we want to thank MBR TV, Truth or Politics, Pulaski County, Truth or Politics, Southeastern Kentucky. There was a lot of people involved in making this happen, and I want to thank them personally for exposing this incredible thing. And we will see you next time on Truth or Politics.